Guys, welcome back. We have another great guest here. He's got over 500,000 subs on YouTube. I've got a chance to watch his content. It's very, very dialed in, really great stuff when it comes to intersexual dynamics, dating, getting her to chase, getting her to be obsessed. Please welcome Casey Zander. How you doing, Casey?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Man, I'm just excited to have you out here, man. We've talked about doing this for a while. I met you over at Dan Bilzerian's place. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is your start was so organic. You were just sitting here telling me about which camera you use. You were using a shotgun mic. You were using natural light. Can you talk about how you started the channel and then when you knew it was going to blow up?
Yeah, I mean, so my journey was a little bit, I guess, different than probably most content creators. Like, so I am now at over 500,000 subs, and like this is the first ever in-person interview I've ever done. So like, I started as an online fitness coach, and I had like a fitness coaching business and everything like that. And they're not on my channel anymore, but the first, I would say probably anywhere from 200 to 350, somewhere in that number. I don't know exactly how many vlogs I made, but they were all fitness vlogs. And I couldn't really get the channel to grow as fast as I wanted it to. But I was super into it. Like, they were super cinematic edits, and I was teaching training and nutrition, and that's kind of how I started. And my whole like bodybuilding journey was obviously, you know, I was young, right? And it obviously helped with attraction and stuff. And then I made a couple videos on like flirting and stuff, and it skyrocketed a lot quicker. And I transitioned, but yeah, my whole channel, you know, I still to this day I use the same camera. So I've used
You're still using the same.
Yes,
Which is a
so
EOS?
I've used it was like a $600 Canon EOS M50.
Okay.
I have no idea how to work it. I shoot on auto.
Yeah.
It's the same shotgun mic that I've had for the past 6 or 7 years.
So at 500,000, you still using all the same stuff?
Every single day I use the same cheap tripod and the same cheap camera and cheap microphone that I had from day one. So like, yeah, my whole thing was grown very organically and just through making content every day and being dedicated.
Was the whiteboard in the fitness content also?
Sometimes when I would teach macros and stuff, yeah. So yeah, I kind of have always liked the teaching presentation style stuff. And I think especially with like my sort of topics with, you know, men and attraction and helping them learn certain things, I've always honestly felt that just like the logic of having regimen, like step 1, do this, step 2, do this, now do this, here's why this happens. A marker board to me is so much easier for people to understand. And the thing is since most people have been obviously in school their whole childhood, they're used to learning visually through someone speaking and writing. So when I put 2 and 2 together, it's like, okay, now these guys can learn deeper. And you can kind of hit a lot of points from a lot of different angles from drawing stuff out. So like even me personally, like I am really good at learning certain things, but I'm really shitty at learning other things. Like if you wanted me to learn how to play blackjack or poker or something, you'd have to sit with me for probably a month. If I see the table, it's a wall of colors and it's a wall of numbers. It's hard for me to get some things to click. So since I'm a slower learner at certain things too, that's also why I did the marker board and everything, to just like everyone learns in different ways, you know?
It reminds me of a football coach. Like sometimes when I see you drawing stuff, it reminds me of coach drawing up plays on the whiteboard. Yeah,
exactly. That's kind of how I tried it.
Yeah.
So
that's really great.
Yeah. That's how I grew the whole channel.
All right, so the other thing is you shoot natural light, which is awesome too. It's just like whatever was going on at the time, that's what you would shoot in.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is there's so many. I know 100x more people who tell me they're going to start a YouTube channel than people who actually start one. And
the reason why, to go on that angle, like people severely overestimate their idea of how much production needs to happen. Like if you're good at what you do, that's what people need to understand. Like if you are good at what you do, like you're good, like you know your topic, your niche, your area of expertise, like the back of your hand, you can't make up for that with or without good equipment or lighting. Like I could shoot in a fucking porta potty if I had to and still pull 20,000 views on a video if I had to, because you know what I mean? Like the content is there and that's how I view it. You know, like you could take a guy who knows his niche and his topic and you could have that guy anywhere, you know, in a bathroom where it echoes. And if the audience likes him, they're going to listen. So yeah, I haven't found a lot of that to matter. I also think that, like, from a creativity standpoint, like if you look at your YouTube channel or any channel that you have as like art or some form of like your skill that you're demonstrating to the world, almost like a painter painting a canvas, right? You're going to hit creative flow at certain points, right? So like I'm going to hit my creative flow some nights at 2 a.m. when it's pitch black and I have to turn on shitty lighting, and I have to go right then because, you know, that's when I can make it. So it's purely based on how I feel, and when I'm ready to make the content is how I do it.
That's so great. And you're doing it from home too.
All from home.
So again, the reason why I bring this up is because one of the things in my course, we do actually go over people producing content, and it's always the camera isn't good enough, the lighting isn't good enough. I made my guys go out there and like take 2 iPhones and start shooting man on the street videos with 2 iPhones.
Yeah.
No excuses. Don't worry about the light. No excuses. And that's why I love your content. Is you grew to 500,000 followers. You're still using the same camera. You know what I'm saying? That part makes it really, really awesome. And then your content, you just produce it every day from home. I'm curious. So for me, I like to shoot right after the gym. Like for me, it's like directly after the gym. Sometimes after a cold plunge. Is there a time where I'm going to be in flow if I shoot at this time of day?
Yeah, I shoot every day completely fasted after 2 cups of coffee.
That's such a great idea.
And you know, I script my marker board as I'm drinking the coffee, and then by the time I have both cups, that's when I start, and then I start the video and I get going.
That's 2 cups of coffee. Yeah, I usually do like 1 yerba mate or like an energy cookie or something like that. And then I go at it.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit like caffeine addicted, but it gets me going, and then I'm in the mood to talk about all this. So yeah, that's how I did the whole channel. My story wasn't glamorous. I don't have like a good come up story of like, you know, I knew this guy or this content creator. I was on this podcast. Like I lived in North Dakota my whole life. I made over 1,000 long form videos by myself in my house.
Yeah.
And that's how I did it. Like I don't have a great come up story. I didn't have this big whole like social media glamorous life. It was very much like, you know, even in my house back home in North Dakota, like my marker board would be in my kitchen, and that's where I did it every day, and I just stuck to it. But I will say this, not to cut you off, people should know this too. So like, I'm a very big believer in building, like obviously, like I obviously work out the physique, the bodybuilding. I would say in the past 8 to 10 years of working out, I have maybe missed 3 or 4 unscheduled rest days in my whole life. That's it. Yeah. Maybe 3 or 4 in 10 years. And I don't say that to be like, oh my God, look at me. It's just the truth. Like I'm extremely dedicated. I have tracked every workout in a notebook my entire life. So I could go back 3 years back home. I could give you the notebook and I could show you on this date, I did this exercise for this many reps, for this many sets. Extremely regimented. That's how I built my whole body. That's how I built my whole YouTube channel. That's how I build everything, is through reps and dedication and not skipping. So I remember I had a tonsillectomy when I was young, right? And I would consider those a couple of my unscheduled rest days. And even though I wasn't supposed to work out, I still did it. So shit like that, like I don't miss. Like I'm at the Aria right now. I mean, I have shoulders today and I woke up early before this and I did them. So like no matter what, I always get it done. And that as a man, I think transitions to how you move financially. That transitions to how you move in business, in life, with your body, with your vision, with everything. You have to be a creature of habit. That's what I believe.
Your experience from your videos you talk about is from, you live in Bismarck. You lived there before you moved to Arizona.
Born and raised, yep.
What is it, you talked about house parties. Where did a lot of the experience come from?
So I have an interesting story with that. So when I was younger, my parents got a divorce, and my family, we had some shops.
Yeah.
So sometimes if there was a vacant shop, I would go and I'd throw a party, or a lot of times post-divorce, when my parents would go out of town, I would sometimes take the empty house and I'd throw house parties. So that's the whole environment that I come from, was like house parties, having 100+ people in one spot, it being all over the place. And I think you really get to see a lot of people act in their state of how attraction is naturally when you have an environment like that. I learned a lot of that very like organically. North Dakota, this obviously isn't good, but I believe the statistic is true. I mean, don't quote me on it. I'm not 100%, but from what I've heard, like North Dakota also has very high rates of binge drinking.
Yeah. I believe that.
They're party towns. You know,
Yes.
University of North Dakota is in Grand Forks.
Yeah.
Everyone would watch hockey and drink. I had friends who were D1. I had friends who were D1 hockey players. One of them went on to go and, you know, play professional hockey. I was friends with guys in fraternities. You know, even like when I was younger, so when I was building my fitness business, I drove up to University of North Dakota for a semester, and I had friends who were going to college there. And then what I would actually do is I lived at their house for a semester, and I would just work on my business while they would go to college. But I was in that whole scene,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of how I started to see this for what it is. And yeah, a house party game, just having a connection of friends who in some way, shape, or form are popular a little bit so you can see
Yeah.
who women are responding to.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I did it.
That was exactly what I want to say. My next point. So I managed a strip club from 22 to 26, and when I was there, one of the things, it wasn't just like my game with the girls. It was which guys the girls responded to. Because remember, these girls are getting paid money for their attention, and there's a couple of guys who they're giving their attention to who aren't paying them any money.
Right.
And I always like tried to see what those guys all had in common.
Yeah.
And this is the first point where I got this red pilled, where I kind of understood that what Disney and the church and my family was telling me wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
So that was the first part. And then later on, I worked with some nightlife promoters in Atlanta for like a year and a half. And I would listen to pickup artists say one thing, and then I would watch these guys show up to clubs with 70 girls. And I was like, okay, there's something they're doing that makes sense here. And then what you're saying, so it's almost like becoming an NFL scout, where before you even get good at game, you start saying this guy has good game and this guy does not have good game, and you start to see what these commonalities are. And this is what you probably saw with your friends.
Yeah, completely. And another thing too is like, I think the easiest, most simple way for guys to understand this and realize this, especially if you're from like a smaller town or something, or anybody watching this across anywhere in the world right now will probably understand this. When you're in high school, right, the star quarterback gets the girls,
Yeah.
right, or all the girls want him. That same popularity contest does not exit once high school is over. It's still the same way in real life. It's still the same way as an adult. The popularity contest changes a bit, and maybe it is a club environment, maybe it's corporate status, maybe it's status with these friends, but it does not change and it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
The game just gets a little bit bigger because now you're on a global scale,
Yeah.
but it's the same. It's the same thing.
So some guys have a core competency. We've had this discussion before, where they are the quarterback and they're just slaying. You're right, women when they're the quarterback, and then they get into the corporate environment. It's this weird thing, like when you're a senior in high school, you have this level of status. You go to college, you're a freshman, and the freshman girls are not interested in you. They're interested in the seniors and guys
Right.
out of college.
Yeah.
Then you're a senior in college and you're a big man on campus, and then you start in the workforce, and then you have to build your entire social status over again. And you said you've seen a lot of times where a guy's, you know, captain of the wrestling team or something like that, and then when he has to get out in the real world, he doesn't have the same success with women.
Yeah, you'll see that too. A lot of times guys, they think they have good game, but in actuality, they had status in their environment.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of guys I grew up with who were like that too. They were stud athletes in high school, and then after high school, they got older and they're like, what the hell is going on? You know what I mean? So that has happened too. Or the thing is the guy will have really good game in his environment, in his hometown where people know of him or know him, and then he travels, or that guy goes somewhere, or he goes on vacation or something, and the girls don't respond to him the same way, and he's sitting there like, what's going on? And that is the truth, is the girls in the new environment don't have that same image and perspective of you. So that's why setting yourself up properly in the environment and everything that makes you you is like damn near half the battle or more of their perception of you, because they're going to choose and they're going to identify how they view you a lot of times before anything even comes out of your mouth. You walk into a room and instantly she's going to start analyzing who is probably selected and who isn't,
Yeah.
and just the vibe, the aura, the energy, how the guy looks, how he carries
Yeah.
himself. It will all start to matter with her perspective or her perception of him.
Yeah. So as men, when we do this, it takes a while, but like you said before, you can tell this guy's got game. This guy is being selected. With women, they got it way earlier than we did. Like they are way more socially calibrated. A woman with a far lower IQ, who's much younger than me, is probably as socially calibrated because she gets approached by the opposite sex. I've seen this also with guys who like work the door at bars or whatever.
Yeah.
They can very quickly say, there's something wrong here. This guy's here to look out for his, you can quickly, your girlfriend's in there. You think your girlfriend's talking, you can quickly see there's going to be a problem here.
Yeah.
And I think that's social calibration, whereas you and I are discussing ways that we as men get it in our 20s from experience. I think women already see the world that way.
Oh, yeah, completely. And I had terrible understanding of social calibration and attraction in my younger years. It wasn't until I was probably 18, 19, and I started to hang out with more people that I started to kind of catch my stride in different places. So it took me multiple years to figure this out for myself too.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm almost glad it happened that way because I don't have like a cap on my growth.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys who, when they get success early, they think that that's just who they are. And then, like you said, when they leave high school or college and that situational status exits, they think that that's just the way shit is now.
Yeah.
I'm almost happy I had kind of a harder struggle in the beginning because it's like I can kind of see the progression for what it is.
Yeah.
You know?
And it also causes you to figure out different leverage points, right? You're not just going to use, you can be in shape and be the cool guy who talks to girls and be the house party guy. And you can learn different styles of doing this rather than just being the quarterback and just dating the high school cheerleader.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You want to learn different type of, I'm curious, were there any books that you read or people that you followed initially? You've mentioned Hypergamy before in other videos. Were there any things that had a profound impact on you that you read while you got into this space?
Two of the books I really liked was like Art of Seduction and 48 Laws.
Okay.
Was really
Robert
good. I've read a lot of the books though. I've read Robert Greene's work. I have read God, what's that other one called?
You read any of Rollo's books, like Rational Male?
I read the one with the blue cover.
Okay.
What's that one?
I think, is it Preventative Medicine? Is that the one?
I can't remember.
Positive Masculinity, one of the two, yeah.
I read one with a blue cover from him. That was good.
Yeah.
I've read a lot of different books, and I've watched tons of different content creators. And the thing is like, I really believe everyone, to some degree, has their own style a little bit.
Yeah.
And what works for them. And what I think is best is if guys are getting their content from a variety of people, I think it's good because you can kind of take a piece of the pie from everyone and you take what works for you. Because to some degree, everyone's personality is going to be a little bit unique too. Here's what I mean by that too. If you're in high school or college and you're in algebra and you need a tutor, right? This tutor could explain something to you the exact same as this tutor, but this tutor you respond to better because of the personality. That's how I think dating has to be taught. Is the saying is like different strokes for different folks, right? You're going to have to figure out who you gravitate towards with who's going to break down that information best for you. That's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So I've watched tons of stuff. I've watched tons of fitness influencers. I've watched tons of dating coaches. I've watched tons of guys in the creator space. I've seen all of them. And yeah, it will help you understand stuff for who you are.
Yeah. You've used the term hypergamy before. One of my favorite analogies you use, like one of the best teaching tools I've seen are the analogies that we use as men sometimes to like help guys understand different concepts. Like Orion Teraband came here and he talked about men being captains and women being passengers on a ship.
Yeah.
This one, when you talk about Adam and Eve, and I really, really like this kind of this thing where, you know, Eve led Adam, and she punished him for it. This kind of idea where women are going to take you down a path. They're going to encourage you to go down this path. And then when you do the thing they asked you for, then they punish you for it. And you use the story of Adam and Eve. And I just really, really, really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing that I think is so interesting about that, and this is from my understanding of it, right, of the Bible and how it works, but from my understanding, I believe this is accurate. When the story is written and God calls upon Adam when that happened, he doesn't necessarily say, you ate the fruit, or he's mad at that. He's mad that he listened to her.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, how could you listen to her when you were instructed, right? So like, I think that that's a thing that a lot of men have to understand is her entire hardwiring, right? This is my belief, is to lead you astray. And the second you agree to that, and see, that's why like, even like men who are very lustful, let's say, you maybe are going to have access to attraction in that woman short term, but guys who get very attached to that from what I've seen, it does not matter how good you are in bed. When she can feel that neediness, that dependency on that lust, she will exit because it's too much. And she knows you are not operating in the right state that you were instructed to be in. So a saying that I use on my YouTube channel a lot, or when I make content, is I say, the hotter the flame, the shorter the burn.
Yeah.
When you have a lot of chemistry with a woman and you guys start hooking up really fast, you guys start sleeping together really fast, and it feels like it's amazing, and those are the interactions that feel great, those are a lot of times the ones that fizzle out the quickest. And when she can feel your interest level, because here's the thing, your interest level is not just going to be shown based off of you communicating with her and what you're saying. It's how you look at her. She can see the sparkle in your eyes light up. It's how you smile at her, right? It's how you during sex, right? It's how you're moving. It's how everything. She can feel your interest level at every point.
Yeah.
And the more she can feel like you want her from that lustful state, like of the physical, the quicker she gets turned off. And while she might still do it there in the moment with you, and you believe that this is good and you guys are together, it never lasts.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen is, it doesn't matter if you are a boyfriend, it doesn't matter if you're hooking up with a girl, it doesn't matter if you're a husband. The second you get attached to her in the physical is the second she cannot have attraction for you anymore. It's like you literally cannot need that. And it's hard for guys to understand, because everything we've taught, the word that I hate is when guys say escalation. How do I escalate?
Yeah.
The snake deceives Eve for a reason. She will escalate on you when she can see that you are not on her. And I think if you let her enter into that devious state that I believe they naturally are drawn to, they will solve a lot of these problems for you if you remain the man that you're supposed to be, because they're going to try to get you to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I've found to be true.
Yeah, I totally agree. The idea of her escalating on you when she realizes, because there's like a tension, there's a void. She's used to being the scarce object and you are the abundant object. And now when you don't escalate, she's starting to realize she is the abundant object and you are the scarce object. And then she turns it around. Right.
And keep in mind, like when I say this stuff too, like this is not just from me, oh, I read scripture and now I act like I know. Like this is me actually testing this shit for myself. Well, I've had interactions with women where I was that guy where you're super, super lustful with her, or you really want her, you think she's really hot, or you have a girlfriend that's really hot and you guys are together and then shit doesn't feel the same all of a sudden and you notice behavior with her that's different. Or I've seen all this for myself. So I've lived this. And since I've lived this, it's a hell of a lot different than just saying some stuff, you know, like I see how these women move. I see how these women operate, and it's not how guys were told.
Yeah. The concept of hypergamy is the original sin.
Yes.
I thought that was great, man. Can you go into that? The idea of like what Eve was doing was hypergamy.
Yeah. What Eve was doing is hypergamy in a sense that here's how I talk about it to guys, because the issue that I really don't like that goes on with a lot of content, I've broken this down into what I call internal and external high value. Okay, so what guys are focused on a lot of times is materialistic, status-driven metrics. That is what I would call external high value. And what that means is they are looking at the clothes they wear, the money they make, the amount of followers they have on social media. And the reason why I think I'm a good testament of teaching guys this is because I am the guy with 500,000 YouTube subscribers. I am the guy with a Ferrari. I am the guy who has been financially successful since I was young. I think, you know, like even like with deals and stuff and making money, like I was a real estate agent at 18 years old. I have never had less than probably 25, 30 grand in my bank account since I was 18, 19 years old. That's the least amount of money I had by age 19, probably around that. So I've been the guy where I've always had the money. I've always had some sort of status from building myself or building my business or throwing house parties. I've had every single basically like resource of external attraction triggers and metrics that guys would say, okay, this constitutes or this qualifies as a high value man. And what guys need to understand, and please take this from me because I've seen all sides of the coin. I've also been the guy with shredded six-pack abs. I've been the guy who I built my body in the gym for 8 to 10 years. Women don't give a fuck. They don't care. They will start to meet you and they will get a sense of what you're made of in a quick hurry. And hypergamy, this is what I teach guys. I teach guys this. Hypergamy is not an external attraction trigger that you can quantify on paper. Like, because this is the problem a lot of guys run into, and me in my young years, because I have XYZ subscribers, or because I fit this narrative of what guys are telling me is high value. Well, don't I qualify to act however I would like with the beautiful woman? And you'll be humbled in a quick hurry when you realize she doesn't give a fuck and she will exit. Because here's the thing. Hypergamy is a feeling. Hypergamy is not something you can quantify on paper as an attraction metric, right, that you can measure out with status. Hypergamy is a feeling. One too many handholds, she gets the ick. One too many I love yous, she gets the ick.
Yeah.
You look in her eyes with that twinkle just a little bit too long as you're having sex with her, and she knows right then and there, I got that motherfucker, and she's gonna go to a different guy who doesn't look at her that way. That's what guys have to understand. She does not want to be viewed as this amazing, beautiful creature that you are putting on that pedestal.
Yeah.
And despite how beautiful she is, you cannot fall into that, or it disqualifies you. So let me give you an example. Back to Adam and Eve. What that did when she could get him to stray, I don't know if it was, and let's say the story is true. Who knows, but let's say it is, just for the story's sake. In any way, shape, or form that she deceived him, maybe it was through her beauty, maybe it was through her seductive voice, maybe she had long, pretty blonde hair, maybe she had amazing eyes. Who knows what it was? But whatever it was with her sex appeal and seduction, she got him to say, okay, I'm not going to listen to God. I'm going to listen to you. And that is where he failed. And hypergamy was not satisfied because he wasn't able to stick to his true masculine.
Yes.
He's now fell into the trap of following her. And that's when shit hits the fan. So in my opinion, hypergamy is original sin. And in my opinion, what God is going to do to men 24/7 is they are testing you to see if you're the man that you're called to be, or if you're going to be deceived by the woman. And at all periods in life, you're going to be met with that. And I found this to be true at every single age I've been, every single income goal I've hit, every single person I have been. That has never went away. It's internal, right? So the confidence to speak the way you want, or the ability to have the strength to maybe tell her, no, I don't want to do this, or not to respond to that text message for 2 days because you're busy or doing something. Those little things add up in your favor where she can see, okay, he's not focused on me. And that's what she wants. So I know a lot of guys are scared. They're like, well, if I don't text her back, if I don't talk to her, if I don't do this, she's going to leave me. And it couldn't be further from the truth. You know, now as I've gotten older, it's like, why do I leave a girl on red on text message for 3 weeks? See, here's what guys have to understand too. Can they see me on this camera?
They can see you
They need to understand this. When I'm saying you leave her on red for 3 fucking weeks, this is not to, like, you have to have some patience. Here's what you got to understand. You got to have some patience. So most guys, they hear this and they go, holy shit, I couldn't leave my girlfriend on red for 3 fucking hours. And it's like, that right there is why you're going to lose her. Why do I leave her on red for 3 weeks? Because now I get to spend 6 months with her. You see what I'm saying? Why do I push her away for 3-4 weeks? Because now maybe we'll be together for a year. Yeah. Where if I'm available now in the next 3 days, we see each other once or twice or 4 or 5 dates, and then the interest fades. Well, when I would see my behavior, how it would change from woman to woman in my younger years, and I'm like, okay, I'm the same guy. I have the same amount of money. I have the same status. My vocal tone has not changed. The way I've performed in bed has not changed once. What is the thing that has altered this woman's perspective and perception of me? And it is strictly your interest level. So you got to have some patience. You got to be controlled, right? You have to be willing to not be so thirsty. And see, this is the problem right now, is there is so many guys, right? Especially if you live, like, for example, if you live in, let's say, America, where I live, right? Everything is so, things are so sexualized, right? So guys wake up and they think, oh my God, I'm going to this club tonight. Got to get laid. Going to the house party. God, I hope I get laid. And this whole element of like, I need to bust a nut is just on guys 24/7 in their subconscious. And that is the reason why men are emasculated, is because of no impulse control to control their sexual desires. That's what I believe. Yeah. And the more you can get a hold on that, the more she sees you're different, the more she also is going to see that you're used to women at this caliber. So if she's an 8, 9, or 10, and she sees you not needing that, and you have control over those desires, you have now separated yourself from 99% of guys. That's how I look at this.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two opposing forces here. One is you talk about the thirstiness or the neediness. As men, we have this evolutionary adaptation. We see a woman we like and we want to go pursue her. But the thing is, the reason why you come off as low status is because every guy feels that. Most guys think pretty women are pretty.
Yeah.
And if she says, hey, call me at 6, he's going to be there at 5:55. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's what most, and so that impulse you have, that's the impulse you share with 99% of men, which makes you average. And
Right.
the other impulse is,
Which is hypergamy.
Exactly. It's exactly right. And the other one is the concept, and this is really hard, and probably a lot of women will hear this and be upset when they hear this, but it's the idea that she is not deliberately, maybe even not even consciously, going to lead you down a path where if you follow what she says, she will become less attracted to you.
Yes.
And that doesn't make sense. It's like, imagine going to work and your boss literally giving you directions, and when you follow the directions, he fires you. As men, that makes no sense to us. But like when you're in a relationship, a woman is going to lead you down a path that will eventually make her not attracted to you. And then,
Right.
like, while I don't know of a scientific study that could prove this, I have thousands of clients and I have, interactions with hundreds of women, and so do you. And in these situations, I can tell you that's absolutely true.
Yes.
No matter how offensive or hard to hear that is.
Yeah.
And probably there's some guys right now having an aha moment. It's like, oh, that's what happened.
Right.
But she asked for that.
Yes.
I did these things she asked for.
Yep.
And things actually got worse. Here's another thing you said that I think is probably would make some people unhappy, but I completely agree with this. It's impossible for a woman to love and respect a man who is head over heels in love with her.
Right. Because if you're head over heels in love with her, she's automatically head over heels not in love with you because hypergamy is not satisfied. So it's a feeling. So the thing is if you can master this with women, how to keep distance, how to keep space, how to keep tension where you guys are apart, how to make sure you are patient enough to let things unfold week after week and month after month instead of hour for hour or day by day, she will feel that your interest level is not as high as everybody else's. And now she's going to start to want you, and her, what I would call, emotions start to work in your favor is typically how I say it. So this is hard for guys to hear because, and like, I really want to dissect that line because every word that I write on my marker board is written for a reason. And it's very, 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 very structured for a reason like that. If you are head over heels in love with her, it is impossible for her to be head over heels in love with you because here's what you have to realize. It does not matter how tall you are. It doesn't matter how good looking you are. It doesn't matter how much status you have. The second hypergamy is not satisfied because it is a feeling and she can feel that need or that love or that craving, that intimacy, that desire. She can't love you or she can't be attracted to you anymore. It's like she's turned off, and I don't think she can help it or control it. It just is that way. And I think that is how women filter out strong men from weak men. And it has nothing to do with how you look. It's her perspective of you, of how you're viewing her and how much you need her in your life.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. These guys are going to have to understand this. I have made every mistake in the book. You are going to have to make some fucking mistakes until you understand how it feels, right? Because your parents can teach you every lesson too growing up, but until you really fuck up, right, until you really make that mistake, you're not going to listen to them because you didn't get the feeling associated with the pain and the negative consequences. So these guys can hear me talk all they want. They won't believe me until they do this themselves, until they have the boat and the fast car and this and that and the six-pack abs. And now they think that it's okay if they send the kiss emoji and the blush emoji, fail every interest test, and then they're pissed off, heartbroken, wondering why she left. You're going to have to feel that for yourself. Yeah. You're going to have to know what that's like on every level. And that's why, too, another thing, game and talking to girls and meeting women is a completely separate skill set from retention, completely different. If you're going to focus on retention and you're going to have a girl sit in your presence for multiple hours or with you and hanging out at your house, that is a whole different skill, one-to-one, than being able to approach and, like, I don't even think they're fucking correlated.
Yeah.
Not even a little. I mean, that's a totally different skill set. So guys have to kind of know what areas they are at a deficit at too to kind of fix that.
Yeah, you mentioned that before. There are some guys out there that didn't have a party phase. They're actually better at being in a relationship, but not good at meeting women. Maybe they're too nervous or they're awkward. And then there's some guys who are really, really good at just going up and talking to women.
Yeah.
Or they meet on the street, but they're terrible in relationships. Can you
Right.
go into that? Like, you need both skill sets.
Yeah, you need both. And the thing is like how I would view this as guys who are great in relationships a lot of times are great at maintaining a woman's interest. From what I've found, this is just my own personal preference. From what I found, those guys gravitate more towards online dating because they're not as good at conveying instant social value in front of the woman instantly. Right. So like even like if someone would have to say, Casey, what is your strong suit? My strong suit 100% is like if I meet a girl past 3, 4, 5 dates and we're seeing each other, 100% my skill set is what I call back end game on the back end. My skill set is like that, where it's like, okay, if I'm seeing a girl, a lot of times the girls that I see for multiple months or like years sometimes, you know. So you have to know where you're at with things. A lot of guys who are great at, well, here's another way that I look at this too. The thing is that a lot of guys who are great on the front end, what I call front end game, when you first meet that girl, the hard part about it is you have to have a lot of emotional leverage a lot of points. So a lot of guys, you know, they'll sleep with that girl when they meet her at that bar, that club or whatever. But here's the problem that I found with it. They have to put themselves at an 8 out of 10 charisma level and excitement and constantly pump up her vibe on an emotional level to get her into that state. The problem is then she hangs out with him afterwards and now he is not at that wavelength anymore. Maybe there was alcohol involved when they were talking, maybe there wasn't, but regardless, the more she gets to know him now hour for hour, the superhero effect wears off. So like that's the thing too, is like me personally, I would rather be able to attract the girl with a 2 out of 10 charisma level and just get her to view me the right way. Because a lot of times that I tell guys too is like, you don't have nearly as big of social skill problems as you think. Like I tell guys, you've been talking to girls your whole life. If you're 20, 30, 40 years old, that's 40 years you've been communicating with everyone. You've successfully paid every bill, lived in a house and not went homeless, got groceries every week, and you've lived just fine. Your social skills are fine. What you need to fix is how her perspective of you is with the vibe, the setup, the aura, your popularity, how she's looking at you before you guys even meet. A lot of that is so important. So you have to have both sides of the coin. As I've gotten older, I've kind of made my own system with it that's worked for me that I've shared with other guys. But yeah, you have to have both sides of the coin. On the front end, guys have to be able to convey themselves the right way socially and make sure that she is responding to you in a positive light. And on the back end, you have to make sure that you are in strong enough, what I would call probably like masculine frame to retain the woman's interest so she sees you're not going weak for her.
Yeah.
If you have both those, that's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, I've seen the pickup artist do like what you said, the dancing monkey thing where he has to keep her state up very high.
Yeah.
The whole time because he's in general admission.
It's exhausting.
But then I
would
watch the guy who's either pseudo celebrity or the guy who just has stage access at backstage at a concert or stage access at the nightclub. And I'd watch him take the girl home, and it was boring. Like if you were gonna make a YouTube video on it, he's just like, "What's up?" And he's just kind of sitting there chilling, and she has a drink, and he's like, "Yeah." He says a couple things to her, but they're in a high status location together, and she's watching other people respond and react to him.
Yeah,
and he does no work, and she goes home with him. It's like what you said, the way he's positioned himself. I've had this happen before. You know, you saw the bikini competition I hosted yesterday. It'll be a situation where I'll meet the girl, I don't hit on her at all. She sees all these other girls responding to me. Then I introduce her to my girlfriend, and then then I notice for weeks she watches every single one of my stories, and in her mind she probably doesn't even recognize. It's like this guy showed me no interest. He was surrounded by beautiful women. His girlfriend's hotter than me, and then I just see like every day they're liking my stuff. And it's because there was no game, there was no dancing monkey anything. It was just the way I'm positioned in her mind.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, because no matter how much guys like or dislike social media, the one thing I think it does do is it does tell the truth. And social media does expose exactly what women respond to. The same thing goes for me. Yesterday when I post the stories, like when I was with you at that pool, I have a select number of girls that are hearting every single story.
Yeah.
They're trying to drop the seeds of interest indicators because they want it to go somewhere. So it's positioning. So here's the thing. What I tell guys too, like if they come into any of my programs or anything, one of the modules that I have is I say, don't try to emulate the way that I speak. Don't try to emulate my personality style, because you are unique. You're a unique individual. You're going to have to see how you convey yourself. You might be great on the front end when you naturally are captivating and have a lot of charisma. I'm definitely not as good on the front end as I would say I am through mid game and back end. Mid game for me is like the first 1 to 3 dates. That's more my strong suit. Every guy is going to be different. The worst thing I think you can do is watch a content creator or a dating coach or somebody and try to emulate their movements and behaviors. You're not going to be able to.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how advanced you get socially, you're not going to be able to do that.
You're not as good looking as Austin Dunham.
There
no
you
matter
go.
what you think, I don't care what you think when you look in the mirror.
There you go.
You don't look as good as Austin. Austin Dunham has advantages you don't have.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And him too, like, you know, I know him personally, and look at the amount of work he's had to put in over the past 10 years.
His experiments that he does with Tinder are awesome.
Yeah.
And the other ones that he does where guys pay him to message their girlfriends. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Just genius. The stuff that I still refer to the stuff when I interviewed him, and I still refer to the stuff he told me. He was like, yeah, the girls who have more thirst trap photos are more likely to respond to me when they have boyfriends. And I was like, yeah. And that's where I kind of came up with the idea, when a woman needs more validation, that's when you're like, people are like, no, the hot girls all cheat. I was like, no, it's not the hot girls. It's the ones who need all the validation. Those are the ones who are more likely to be worse partners.
Yeah, 100%. And the thing is too, is like, every man is going to have to really find their strong suit in what your natural personality gravitates towards. Because here's what I believe. I believe every single man, you have your own God-given personality traits. And I believe the core root of your identity, I don't think you can change. I believe you can do self-improvement, even though I hate that term because I don't think it always applies to dating. Like, I don't think it's going to lead to you getting the girl just because you fucking improved. She doesn't care a lot of times from what I've seen. But here's the thing. You can improve parts about yourself and your personality, but your core identity of the way you are and the way you communicate and who you are is not going to change. It's fixed. I think God made every single person that way. You have a fixed identity. Your job as a man is you have to identify and analyze yourself, and you say, okay, with the God-given traits I was born with, and here's the thing, every man has deficits too. How can I accelerate the areas I'm good at, and how can I cover up or, you know, improve the deficits to the best of my ability? So every guy's going to have to find their own swag with it. Yeah.
One other thing I want to talk about is, because you did mention the mid game and like late game stuff, an early game idea. Well, I'll tell you right now, a huge, I don't want to call him an influencer, but a very successful business guy here in Las Vegas. Like, everyone knows this dude. He hits me up. He sends me one of your videos because he doesn't know you and I know each other. And it was the Ferrari video. And this guy has just bought a supercar. And he was telling me, he's like, before I had the supercar, it was like, I would go on dates with girls. They'd always sleep with me on the first date. It was never an issue. When I started buying a car that's over $1 million, he's like, now they come over and they're like making me wait. And
same thing for me.
So can you go over exactly, because let's go pickup truck in Bismarck, North Dakota.
And
then Ferrari in Scottsdale,
and I still
Arizona.
have a truck to this day, keep in mind. But okay,
so
here,
what does that feel like? What is that?
I was able to successfully have more casual sex and, let's say, house party interactions where you sleep with girls and, you know, going straight home from the bar and stuff like that when I lived in a 3-bedroom apartment with 4 other guys. So 4 guys total, 3 other guys in a 3-bedroom apartment, which means 2 of them are sharing down below a room. I was successfully able to get laid more in that environment in a condo that was built in the 90s with a leaky roof and black mold growing on the ceiling in one of the spots with a bucket I'd have to put under for when it would rain, it would leak. So like I've done everything. I've been broke. I've lived in that environments. That's why when I tell guys like this, like, I've been the guy like that starting from ground zero. I've been the guy with the Ferrari. I was successfully able to sleep with girls more casually, I would say, in that condo or that apartment than today. Because now it's like you're a fine piece of real estate she's hunting for all of a sudden. you got value there, right? So everything has to be framed, right? She's wanting to, and you can't fault her for this. You as a man want her to view you a certain way, and she as a woman is going to want you to view her a certain way. And to me, this is irrelevant of notch count. This is irrelevant of how many people she's been with or you've been with. Everyone is going to start to alter and change their personality a little bit depending on who's in front of them. And that's where, as a man, you have to make sure you, to the best of your ability, you don't do that the hotter the girl gets. But she's going to do the same. She's going to alter her perspective, she's going to alter the perception that she wants you to have of her. She alters that to make it seem as if she is good long-term material. Well, why is she doing that? Because she sees you that you are good long-term material. Yeah. So now she wants to be long-term material. You can't fault her for that. But now having a Ferrari and stuff, or like I, have a nice house in Arizona. It's where we shoot content out of for, the channel and everything. And the thing is like, I've experienced this too. Like, why does the girl want to wait 3-4 dates to be intimate or to sleep together? Well, it's because she's framing her value differently. And you can't control that. It's like you got to understand the cards you were dealt. So, like, that's just how it is I think women will view certain guys as long-term and women will view certain guys as short-term. Yeah. And the more successful and higher status you become, you are going to be viewed by some women as more long-term. Yeah. I would even say this. There's probably some athletes and professional athletes, there's probably some musicians who are famous, where I guarantee you there's going to be a select number of women who they are going to meet. And no matter how captivating, charming, charismatic, and attractive that guy is, she is going to want to make this guy her boyfriend. Yeah. And you can't change that. That's just people, right? Yeah. So like, some girls are going to view me as short term and some girls are going to view me as long term. Yeah. Some girls are going to view you as short term and some girls are going to view you as long term. And that's just how it is. Yeah. Like, we have our own preferences too. Every guy does,
I had Brad Lee on my show, and he talked about this concept, and I thought one thing that was interesting. He said, if I had a daughter, I would want her to be with a wealthier man. It's like, that makes sense to me. When you think about it, if you have a daughter, the idea that your daughter would treat a guy who has a future and ambition, a guy who's competent differently than the fuckboy party guy that she meets at a frat house, that would make, as a father, that would even make sense to me. Right. I understand her motivation in doing so. Dan Bilzerian's New Sigma Society course, he has one of the attraction triggers. He talks about having money, but he talks about the negative sides of it. How having a lot of guys with money, what they'll do is, because their game does not match their money, they become a target. Right. As opposed to using money as a funnel. Yeah. In order to create, I use money as like a chisel to chisel out an environment where it's like a comfy house. Yeah. But I'm not giving her money. Like, the line I draw is, dinners are cool, trips are cool, stuff like that is cool, but I'm not paying your rent and I'm not buying you a car, right? And I'm not buying you a purse, because at that point I'm on the other end of it. I'm giving you money in exchange for my affection, as opposed to me paying for an experience where we both have fun and then go home together. And have you come up with a different strategy since the whole experience with the Ferrari?
Yeah, my whole thing is just investment. Like, and for me, the biggest thing that I've noticed is you have to get the girl to invest in you outside of the bedroom. In fact, I would even say this, dude, the older I get, what happens inside the bedroom is like more and more irrelevant the older I get. Like, it's a lot of it is framing yourself in a way where she has an emotional investment in you. Crazy? Yeah. A woman can have a sexual investment in a guy in one moment and then not in the next. And she might sleep with him and then maybe never talk to him again. There are certain women where they'll sleep with a guy and this happens and he doesn't hear from her anymore. Yeah. And in that moment,
so confusing.
Yeah. And the guy doesn't understand, but that's just how it is. So the older I get, the more experience I've had with women, I don't care as much about sexual investment. I mean, it's still obviously important that she has that arousal and that desire for you, but you're going to get to a certain point where if you're taken care of as a man, damn near any woman that comes into your life is going to be somewhat attracted to you from a masculine to feminine standpoint. It's going to be tough for them not to be, right? So I just optimize for emotional investment and her investing in me outside of the bedroom. So I haven't done laundry in 6 months, because I have it done for me and I'm very thankful and grateful for it. And she gets treated well. Or, there's women who, I've had women over the years, they say, oh, I've had women where they'll come over I have not asked, and they just start doing dirty dishes.
Isn't it weird, bro?
They start doing dirty dishes.
Bro, after like the second day, it's like, why? And she would be like, I've never done these dishes before.
Yes, I've heard them say that. They go,
so crazy.
I've never done dishes like this in my life. And you can see they like doing it and they want to keep doing it. And they're more attracted to you because they're in that dynamic. You know, I do believe, too, at the end of the day, I think all women at their core, a lot of them are looking for husbands eventually. And sometimes it takes them longer to get, you know, older and come to those conclusions. But if I'm rambling, cut me off.
No,
but
no.
I view, here's the thing. I might get some flack for saying this or some backlash, but I really don't think women have like a solid, congruent, stable's the wrong word. I don't think they have a constant or consistent personality.
Yeah, of course.
I think their personality is completely flexible depending on who's in front of them. And I think as the man, you are the active in motion leading. Think of it as like the movement. And she is almost the, her energy, if you want to call it that, or her femininity is the flexible receiving, right? Think of it like sex, right?
Yeah.
He
Yes.
right? He does, and you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
The key in the lock.
Yeah, there you go. So that is also how it works when it comes to personality.
Yeah.
You are in motion and she receives that energy. That's how it is in the bedroom. That's how it is in life. And yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. So again, managing a strip club for a while, I remember, I'd say in my early 20s, I used to think if you're just better in bed than the other guys, then she ignores all the other guys for you. It's like if I give her 10 orgasms and the other guy gave her 8, then I win. And then when I would listen to these women, and it was very clear to me, it's like their husband really wasn't inspiring them in the bedroom, and the guy they would cheat with was, but they weren't going to leave their husband for that guy. And then I started hearing women like literally complain about guys not being good in bed, but not giving them a ton of attention. And they chase after that guy versus the guy who's like would go down on her for an hour, who was actually objectively better in bed, but didn't give her the feelings like what you're talking about. And it was just it was something in my early 20s where I really thought, no, if I'm just better in bed, then I'm going to win every time. And it just doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't at all. And I have my own theory why that is. I believe that, let's say as a guy, like you're not taking time where you don't necessarily give a shit if she finishes or not. I believe that and you're not giving her a lot of attention, she will chase and pursue to say, why can't I get him to do this? Or why can't I get him to want to do these things? And she will consistently try to get him to change to see if that man will start to invest in her the way that the other guy is. So even though one guy's pleasing her in bed or not, if he's giving her a lot of attention and that's the primary focus and she can feel that he's into her that way romantically, yeah, a lot of times she'll still pursue the guy who doesn't give her a lot of attention or time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this is basic stuff. So guys need some basic advice too for this, because a lot of this is concepts. Okay, if she text messages you sometimes, or I would say even a third of the time, just like the message and then don't talk to her for 4 or 5 fucking days. Sometimes heart the message when you love it. Oh, I love it. Better love it. Okay, love the message, heart it, and then just don't say anything. And I have had numerous women text and they go, God, I hate when you just heart my messages and then I don't hear from you. So stretch the time delay, right? Do you mind if I go into my concept for front end game, mid game, and back end game?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I don't know why I keep staring at this mic, but if they can see, or this camera, but they can see me. So bear with me because it might take me some seconds here to explain this, because I usually teach this on a marker board and I don't have anything to draw right now, but here's my mind with it. So let's start with pillar 1 right here. This is front end game. This is when you first meet the woman and you're trying to attract her, okay? So what guys have to do is they have to speak indirectly, and a lot of times you have to run covert. What I say is you are basically entering the land of the feminine. You are communicating in the language of the feminine on the front end. You are using game. You're not, a lot of times as a man, you're exiting rational, logical reality to enter into her vibe and her state. On the front end, this is what I call front end game. So I have 3 phases. I have front end game, mid game, and back end game. Front end game, you are going to engage in the language of the feminine. Think of it as you doing her a favor. You are entering into her language. You're going to run covert. You're hidden. You're indirect.
Yes.
You're getting her vibe in the right state.
Indirect.
Okay.
Very important. Yeah.
Here is how my game has adapted as I've gotten older. I do not want to sleep with the girl until she now enters into my masculine form of communication, which is overt. I want her to say, please sleep with me. Please have sex with me. I really want to have. I want her to say it verbally because I entered in the language of the feminine in the beginning, which is speaking to her in the right way of getting her vibe and her emotional state in that right dynamic. I have exited you get what I'm saying? Yeah. I have exited my natural communication style to get her in a good, playful state where she's happy. Okay, I've did her a favor. I've got her to feel something good. If I've accomplished that, a lot of times there's chemistry, okay? Then we'll move on to mid-game. Mid-game is what I call the first 1 to 3 dates. Sometimes you'll sleep with them in this phase, sometimes you won't. That's just how it goes, depending on how the girl views you and how high her interest level is. Mid-game is where here's the difference as my strategies have gotten older. As a man growing up, you hear lead, be masculine, be a good leader, make sure you take care of her. Mid-game, I actually will withhold masculinity because I believe it makes them want to earn it.
Okay.
So the little stuff that guys do, I don't walk them to their car after the date. I just let them be. I'm not leading really until she earns it because just like when you say how the woman wants to figure out why that guy won't invest in her or treat her the same way, I want her to pursue that and go, how can I get him to want to walk me to my car, want to invest? So mid-game, I withhold interest, I withhold masculinity. And then when she switches over and now enters into the language of the masculine, she is actually exiting her indirect female covert communication style to now meet me where mine is. And you'll even see this where when women are really interested in a guy at a club or a bar, she's hit the breaking point and the lights are coming on and the club is closing. She will go overt because she's at her breaking point. And the breaking point is, can I go home with you? She has now entered into direct communication. So when all men say, oh, women don't communicate directly, the truth is that I've found her interest level is not high enough. You need to raise it by walking her through the proper style. And I call this the language of women until she runs overt, and you want her to be overt and enter into your language now of overt communication. She says, I want to sleep with you. Maybe you guys do that. And then back end game is what I call the long-term relationship. And that is basically getting her to enter your frame and consistently want you to be the decisive decision maker that she's looking for, and the ability to lead by rational, objective truth and be able to tell her no when things are bad and yes when things are good. So I know that was long-winded.
No, it's perfect.
But that's how I've described it. I have found that it is not best. I don't want to just sleep with the girl if me and her are in a good vibe, because like the hotter the flame, the shorter the burn. I want her to build emotional investment and real investment in me until it gets to that point. So it's like she wants to continue to keep seeing me is how I've adapted with age.
Yeah. You mentioned before, make your attention like a drug. So I kind of feel like that's where you're going. You also, I love the analogy. I use the analogy of attention and compliance. Mm-hmm. A lot of times guys are getting attention from a woman, but they think it's compliance. It's the girl who sends nudes, but he doesn't realize she sent those nudes to 10 other guys.
Right.
He thinks, oh, she really likes me. She's sending me nudes and then when he tries to set up a date, she never wants to go on the date.
Right.
So he thought he was getting attention, which is above the belly button, instead of compliance, which is below the belly button. And so when you talk about make your attention like a drug to her, she has to earn. I say this to guys all the time, man. She needs to earn your attention. Guys who leave the heart eye emojis on a girl they don't even know.
Yeah.
She got that because her boobs are big. She did nothing for that.
Right.
Which lowers your value. You're saying she has to earn it. I think earn it is a really, really, some women are going to think that's toxic, but it's true. Like they do need to earn. They can't just say, I am the table. I am attractive because I'm a woman. You know, just my existence is the reason why you should fight for me. There does need to be some earning of it.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
And nothing else really matters. What she says and what she does, what she says on the phone, what she text messages you is basically irrelevant because it's fake communication. Nothing matters until she meets you in real life. Mm-hmm. If she meets you in real life, okay, it's game on. she took time out of her day to see you physically in real life. That's all that matters.
She physically moved.
Right.
She didn't just use her thumbs.
Yes.
She physically moved to see you.
Yes, and what guys have to know too is every single time a girl is willing to see you in real life, this is my opinion. If she's willing to see you in real life, meaning if she took time out of her day to see you, out of every guy in her inbox, every guy who's approached her, every guy on direct messenger, every guy on a fucking dating app, there is value there in you that she sees that you probably can't see because you can only see your own lens of attraction, which is through your own male lens. But just know if she is seeing you, it's because she views you as valuable and there's value there within you. I don't think a lot of guys also hold themselves to a high enough confidence level of realizing their own worth. I think that a lot of guys don't necessarily see or understand they have value because they can't see it through the lens of how the woman views them. So that's important too to kind of realize is nothing matters until she meets you in real life.
Yeah. When a lot of guys, they'll get in the space and they overanalyze concepts. There's two that I thought were interesting for you, from you, which is one was the idea of Adam and Eve eating from the tree of knowledge and how knowledge can maybe cause you to have analysis paralysis, right? Too much knowledge. And then the other concept that I really loved, and this took me a while, is actually my father was killed by a drunk driver. And then I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about being in the present moment.
Yeah.
And I remember night and day switch where I was so much more attractive to women when I was being able to be in the present moment. What did you mean by that when you talk about being in the present moment with a woman and then not overthinking certain concepts?
Yeah, the more you know, the more you overanalyze. And if you want to use that analogy of biting from the tree of knowledge, right? Yep. The more information that fills your head, the more you will start to second guess, alter your moves, alter the words that you say. And a lot of times your results get way worse. So there's even some guys where they'll go on a binge of watching a lot of dating content and their results with women get way worse because they're so in their head thinking and micromanaging every sentence. What I really think, and this is my own belief, like I definitely believe, as you can tell, like I do believe in God. I do believe like God created man and woman, obviously. And I do think that like, you know, your own God-given state naturally, if you let go of some of these concepts of almost or you go through a stage where you almost unlearn, so you can just get into your natural male state and live. You know, think 1,000 years ago, was there any fucking dating coaches on the internet helping guys? Right. Humans would just meet and mate, right? And families would be formed. And I think that a lot of that is hardwired into us naturally without needing help and guidance if we would almost unlearn and let go of the knowledge and just exist. You see what I'm saying? And another thing that I think too, guys have to realize, like, for me to get to this point to understand this shit, I have had to almost unlearn and deprogram from a lot of my surroundings. So I don't watch any TV. I don't watch sports. I have no idea what's going on in the outside world. I don't watch politics. I have no idea what's going on with any of the stuff outside of my own bubble because I can only control what's in front of me. And I don't, even music I try to limit because I don't want my emotions. I don't want any sort of information infiltrating my pure God-given state. I believe that God created every man perfect, and I believe who you are as an individual is perfect if you fucking lean into it and learn how to lean into it. And the more you start to get distracted, right, by that tree of knowledge, right, the more you allow that tree of knowledge, or the more you start to bite from the fruit and you're exposed, and now the music influences you and changes your thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and the TV, right, and sports, and this, and, you know, this guy talks like this, and this guy wears this outfit, and this guy wears this jewelry, and this guy moves like this. You will get so confused and cluttered that it's very, very tough to move the right way you want to. That's what I found. So I try to see as little as I can. I try to stay in my natural, pure state as much as I can. I've never been to a strip club because I don't want the diva demon in front of me. I don't want that.
Saturday night in Vegas. Bachelor party. Let's do it.
And maybe those guys that I was with last night did do that. Maybe some of them. But I personally, I've never been to a strip club. I also don't want to pay for that. I also don't need a fucking lap dance. Once you've had sex and you've had raw desire from a woman in real life, I don't want any of that programming. And the more you're going to see lights, camera, and actions, music, it's a reality perspective and flip, right? So what you have to know, or this is how I kind of see it for myself, is like the more invested in that life that I am, the more it's almost an artificial reality. And for me, it's helped kind of staying true to who I am. So I've went on a lot of dates where I communicate in my natural, like almost God-given swag and style. And I've actually been on some dates with girls where they're kind of getting angry or mad at me, or they're like pissed off.
Yeah.
And they go, I can tell something's different. Or they say this later on months down the road and they're like, I could just feel something's different, but they didn't leave.
Yeah.
Right.
They
It's
don't
like,
leave. Yes.
Right. They wonder why there's like this tension, or they're wondering why I'm not maybe as bubbly as most of the guys, or I'm not trying to talk their ear off and ask a million questions. And it's because like, I'm just trying to stay true to my state. That's how I solve this for myself. I'm not going to say either that that's going to work for all of you. But it is how I did it. And I think all a guy can do is reflect from his own experiences.
Your content is very dialed in. Like, it's one thing I frequently, when I talk to some of the people on my team, you know, we go off, I do flat earth debates, I debate Ukraine, all this kind of stuff. With your stuff, you, like you said before, you don't watch the news.
No, I don't watch
You stay
nothing.
right there in this one area of intersectional dynamics. You do talk about success sometimes, you talk about money and some of the things, but it's mostly about this one concept. And it's really, I'm almost jealous. Like, one thing I was talking about on the way over here. It's like, you've grown so fast because your audience knows exactly what to expect whenever they go to your channel.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, is like anyone online who has grown interest in my content, what they really should know is I spent a lot of years hating the way I was wired, like hating it. I hated my personality. I hated that I didn't think like everybody else. I hated that I could never go to a sporting event and just kick back and relax without me feeling like I'm a spectator in this artificial reality created. I couldn't do it. And I spent a lot of years trying to change myself, and I couldn't do it. And that's why I believe the core of who you are at the root is never going to change. And I believe you are wired that way by God through a reason. And as a man, I think that it's important to see the tendencies and how God made you and lean into that, because if the saying is God created man in his image, me being a creator and leaning into my natural personality states and creating, I am now operating in a godlike state.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that is the highest form of masculine, is being a creator. So if everybody wants to know how to make more money too, you need to be in a state of creation, right? There's a reason why sales reps get paid more. Okay, think of it this way. There's a reason why sales reps are going to get paid more than people operating, or certain departments who are maybe managing like HR or something like that, right? You are creating a sales conversation. Now, the next higher leverage in that is going to be creating business, creating products, creating offers. The more you're operating in a godlike state, from what I have found, you are more financially rewarded, and you're going to be rewarded with women that have more pure interest in you as well.
Yeah.
So that's how I apply dating to business. I think the masculine, the active masculine is in motion. You need movement. You need creativity. I believe God made man in his image. Because of that, it is my duty to follow my purpose and create for the world in his image and get that dialed in.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing too. I'm not citing sources. I don't have proof.
Sure.
This is my opinion.
Yeah.
It's my opinion of how I live, you know.
One of the things I do like when I watch in your videos is you're like, this is so powerful, and I need you to promise me that you're only going to use this for good. And I have similar, dude. We were talking about this last night. We were talking about what kind of game or who's the best you've ever seen. And I started telling you about the biggest scumbags I've ever seen. I know this one guy's a videographer. This guy had slept with the hottest girls I've ever seen. Nothing he ever said was true.
Yeah.
I know another guy, it was like he would buy girls tickets to Tahiti or Paris like when he met them on the first date, and like, let's go. And then he'd sleep with them and like refund the ticket. It's like, you can take whatever game is, you can take it to the extreme and just be a complete piece of trash. But you were talking about, I promise I'll only use this for good, because really understanding some of these concepts, again, one more time, women will take you down a path and then punish you for doing something that they said. And they'll disagree with me saying this, even though what I'm saying is true. So again, a lot of times they don't even know. You have knowledge of women that women sometimes don't even have. So of course it's very powerful. You have this new point of leverage. You talk about this, I promise to only use this for good.
Yeah, there's a reason, I think, to a lot of philosophers, psychologists, a lot of times they're men, right? I believe men think more higher level with stuff like that. And I do think that guys a lot of times will overthink too, far more than women. And if you do start to learn this stuff and you see how it could be used for good or for evil, I do think it is important to understand that the stuff you're learning could be used for not necessarily good things if you take it to the extreme. So like, you know, another thing that maybe this is just age, maturity, my understanding. As I've gotten older, I don't really like, if I'm not going to be able to be with the girl for an extended duration or sleep with her for at least probably 10 to 15 times, I don't have as much of an interest in like hooking up as much.
Sure.
It brings me a lot of anxiety. How many guys, raise your hand in the comment section. How many of you ever been there? You ask the girl, are you on birth control? You got to wonder to yourself, did the condom break?
Yeah.
Is there a hole? You know, girls are leaving the house and you're sitting there second guessing if, you know, what her intentions are. I don't think to bust a nut, I think it brings a lot of anxiety and pressure to try to sleep with a bunch of girls and shit. I think for most guys, if they would understand more raw masculinity concepts and operate in the right state, they would probably do a lot better and their anxiety threshold would drop a lot more. How much easier is it to sleep with a girl you've already slept with 10 times over someone brand new?
Yeah.
It's way different psychologically.
Yes.
And I think a lot of guys, this is what I mean, is guys spend a lot of time trying to change these things and think, oh, you know, I'm not man enough or I'm not. And it's like, how you are is how you are. And you have to understand that and adapt to that is what I believe. But you can use it for evil and you could use it for good. And it's just important, I think, to analyze your goals for the future of what you're wanting and what type of life you want. So that way you're set up and you're not putting yourself in bad positions.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when guys need to sleep with a bunch of girls, a lot of times it's rooted in ego and insecurity because
Sure.
maybe in their younger years they didn't get as much attention or whatever the case may be, so they have something to prove. And I think a guy has to get out of that stage as fast as you can, is what I found.
The concept of stoicism, right? Maybe muting emotions. Is that something that you talk about in your? I've heard you talk about silence, about the silence with the girl.
Yeah, I think that in life, you're going to be called to handle a lot of different obstacles. And I'm going to come back to everything I do with the barbell.
Okay.
Right? I learned everything about life through lifting weights. And no matter how you feel, when your head hits the pillow at night, you either got that workout done and you completed the shit or you didn't. Right? So some guys are going to make excuses and whatnot, and they're going to realize that, you know, I felt bad or I had an off day or I didn't feel like doing it, so they don't.
Yeah.
And I think if you start to adapt that tendency, you're going to carry over that same inconsistent behavior to a lot of different areas. And from there, it's going to be harder to perform. So the stoic mind, right, of doing what's needed to be done and performing, I think is almost like a little bit of a duty as a man that you have to have. And I think that carries over. How you do one thing is how you do everything.
To be unaffected in a lot of cases, or to lead. Like I've heard Dan talk about muting emotion. I've been in certain situations where, you know, maybe a girl's try to start an argument with you, or you talk about compliance tests, and I'm just not going to go down that path with her. And a lot of times, and like you said before, when you don't do that, she gets upset, but she doesn't leave.
Right.
And a lot of times you maintain, the stoicism is maintaining that frame. Jocko Willink talks about good. He's like, hey man, you know, you just lost $1 million. Good. Hey man, we just got a bunch of new clients. Good.
Right.
That's stoicism.
Yes.
It's like being unaffected because she's got the fucking long hair and the big boobs. Like you're supposed to be affected because 99% of men are affected.
Yeah.
You initially, by the way, like you said before, if you have enough experience with women, you really are unaffected.
Right.
But in the beginning, especially when you're young, you have to pretend like you're not affected.
Yeah, 100%. And the better you get at this too, like I'm at the point in life where I am basically at a consistent feeling and emotion no matter what environment I'm in.
Yes.
So it's a blessing and a curse because like it's hard to feel super highs of excitement, right? Yeah. But it works out in the long run. Like I feel the same here as if I'm at the pool with you, as if I'm back home. Like no matter my environment, I feel the exact same, no matter who I'm talking to. So a guy has to get to that point, and you're only going to get there through the reps of life and learning, and you just have to do it, and you have to make mistakes along the way as well.
Can you talk about this concept? Women fall in love when there's a discrepancy in SMV, sexual market value.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
So what I have done, there's two concepts that I have taken really far on my channel after making over 1,000 markerboard presentations. So to put that into perspective, right, there's 365 days in a year. I've made over 1,000 markerboard presentations. I kept asking myself, I said, what is female attraction? Because guys would talk about it. You hear she's attracted to him, or she is attracted to him for this reason, or you just hear female attraction and it goes in one ear and out the other, and guys just think of it at surface level. But what I had to do was I had to crystallize it for myself and put almost like a term around it. So I said, what is female attraction? That's what I had to do. I had to go bare bones. I go, what does it mean to have a woman attracted to a man? And what it is, in my opinion, is it is a discrepancy in sexual market value. She feels that your sexual market value is elevated above hers. It could be because you're taller. It could be because you're more charismatic. It could be because you're more confident than her. It could be because you're popular. It could be a million fucking reasons, because they're attracted to a lot of different things. But no matter what, she feels in some way, shape, or form that your sexual market value is elevated above hers. Why? Because hypergamy is a feeling. That's what it comes down to. So I kept telling myself, okay, how do you maintain a woman's attraction? You do it by satisfying hypergamy. See, I made so many videos, I started talking about this stuff, and then I got to a point where I go, well, what the fuck am I even talking about? Because these words at surface level don't mean shit.
Yeah.
We have to put terms around them. It's just like in law, right? In law, when you have a word, you have to have terms around what that word means.
Yeah.
Well, if we're going to talk about attraction, what is attraction? So I made up my own term for it. And my term for attraction in the lens of a woman is a discrepancy in sexual market value.
Okay.
What's the point of the discrepancy in sexual market value? The point, the term around it, right? If you're going to say attraction is a discrepancy in sexual market value, the reason being is because we need to do what? Satisfy hypergamy.
Yeah.
So that is female attraction and male to female sexual dynamics in a nutshell. And she has to view your SMV, sexual market value, as higher than hers. Preferably the higher the points, the better. The better you're going to get treated, the more she looks up to you, right?
Yeah.
But that's what attraction is a discrepancy in sexual market value, in my opinion.
Yeah. So from her standpoint, like, she's not thinking about hypergamy. None of these things are, none of these concepts are real to her. She's just having a feeling.
Yes.
And the hypergamy feeling, she can't feel it or attraction for you unless she feels like you're like 2-3 points higher than her. And it could be anything. Like, it could be like you just, you don't seem to stare at her boobs when every other guy does, or she grabs your dick on a date and you don't get hard immediately. Like it'd be like, dude, how many girls has this guy been with?
Yes.
To where he doesn't even get turned off. Like, I've seen girls do that before. I've never told anybody this. I used to get groped all the time. I was working at a strip club. I was a DJ at a strip club for a long time. And after a while, it's like, I don't care. I know what you're doing. You're a fucking stripper. I'm like, I love you, but stop. Like, it's not doing anything. And girls would be like impressed. They'd be like, you don't even know, you don't even notice us anymore. I was like, you're right. I don't. Like, I know the names of your kids. I don't give a fuck anymore. And from doing that, I could see they were actually getting aroused by the fact that every other man in there was giving them money for no chance of having sex with them.
Yeah.
And I was giving them no attention, and they were coming on to me because of the thing you said. And what does that mean? It's an SMV change. I must have been around so many women that I'm so unaffected that I don't even react.
And
respond.
that's why I'm telling guys, stop worrying about fucking flirting, stop worrying about escalation, stop worrying about all of that, because the fastest way you show a discrepancy in sexual market value is not wanting to have sex with her in the first place. That's why I tell guys, the more lustful you become, a lot of times the worse your game gets, because the more you're into her, so thirsty, the more turned off she is.
Just imagine she has chlamydia.
There you go.
There you go.
And see, that's another point too. That's why I think guys need to hear a variety of teachers, because maybe my long-winded sentences there of describing it that way didn't click for some guys, and then they heard you say that and they go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Guys need to hear it from different points.
Yeah.
That's how it was for me in school, at least. My dad was a mechanical engineer growing up before he got into real estate, and he could try to explain. I was really bad in school. He could try to explain shit to me as much as he wanted, and it would never click. And I had to go to a specific tutor every time, and then it would click, even though he's explaining the same shit. So that's how I view attraction too. Like you got to learn it from guys your personality aligns with.
Yeah. For me, I'm more of like a military training instructor. I yell at my guys a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Other people, they do it very different than some people are way more analytical, like you said. That's why I really like the way you do presentations. Remind me of football coach.
Yeah.
I was watching you. The other one that you wrote this down on the whiteboard, she can't hurt you. I thought it was great. It's very empowering.
Yeah.
Because you're worried, oh, is she going to text me back or whatever? And like you're giving her the power to hurt you, but she can't hurt you. And like having that mindset is very different.
Yeah, I've said that on videos too. I say like if you're gonna let a girl who's half your size, half your body weight, half your strength physically affect you or change your emotional state, you're not a man.
Yeah.
And I think every guy's been at that point too, where you've fallen in love with a woman or you like a woman or whatever the case may be, and you have to get to the point where you realize she cannot hurt you. Even if you approach her, even if you make a complete fool out of yourself, she can call you any mean name in the book. She can say you're an asshole. She can say fuck you. She can say whatever. And at the end of the day, you just have to sleep soundly at night knowing that she can't hurt me because I'm a man.
Yeah.
Right? So like it's a different mindset switch I think a lot of guys have to have, and like understanding your own strength and power as a guy. And I think that's been something that has been taken away from guys, is like just emasculation, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just not realizing that you have value and you have strength and you have power too. And it's going to be in different ways.
Yeah.
Right? But like you got to know that like physically you're going to be okay. And if you tell yourself you're going to be okay no matter what and she can't hurt me, it can almost psychologically help you a little bit to realize, hey, no matter what happens, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. And it also helps if you have other cool stuff going on in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, to me, that would be the number one thing. I have something else to worry about, right?
Right.
Sorry, you stood me up on a date. Sorry, I have to host a bikini competition tomorrow. I hope you're okay. Have a nice day.
Yes, and what guys should know too is all of the behavior they've done to women that has led them to be unattracted, like the word that people use on the internet is simping, right?
Yes.
When men do this properly and you're demonstrating a discrepancy in sexual market value, the same tendencies that those men are doing to the girls, she starts to do to you. You see, oh, she double texted me now. Oh, I left her on red and now she wants
becomes
to
a simp.
Right. She the dynamic reverses.
Yeah.
So that's what I've noticed.
Women don't want men. I've said this before. There's three genders: high status men, women, and low status men. Women don't want men who want them, and that's where I delineate this, because it's really hard for guys. This is when I get guys who come from hardcore pickup and they come into my program. One of the first things I have to deprogram from them is the idea of showing intent when you meet a girl, or showing intent to a woman who did nothing to earn it.
Right.
And then this concept explains it perfectly. Women don't want men who want them.
Right. Women, because here's the thing, as soon as you want her, and this is where I'm going to go into internal high value versus external, and materialistic external high status versus internal. The second you want her, hypergamy is not satisfied because you are not demonstrating the discrepancy in SMV. The discrepancy in sexual market value is now not there once you want her. So this is where with like my students too, who I've mentored over the years, a lot of them I found once I was finally able to put like terms around this shit, I finally watched them have like more clicking aha moments. They're like, okay, now I get it. You know what I mean? So yeah, I've never been a guy where I do good with just the surface level of like, you have a statement, right? Women don't want men who want them. Well, then it's like, well, why? And then for me, I kept digging deeper and deeper, and it's like, okay, in my opinion, this is the reasons. It doesn't satisfy hypergamy because now there's no discrepancy in SMV. So it's going to be pretty hard pressed to change my beliefs on that, because that's like the entire premise of my thing. Mm-hmm. So what I tell guys too is, they say, well, when is it my job to demonstrate the discrepancy? Your job to demonstrate the discrepancy in SMV is at every single point of the interaction for your entire life until you are in the grave. Because even if you're married to that girl, her perspective and her perception of you can change second for second, minute by minute, hour for hour. So just because you're a 10 in her eyes today, you could be a 6.5 tomorrow, and then her ass is gone because she doesn't want you anymore. So every text message you send, or this is how I look at it, every text message I send, before I hit the send button, I'm going to say, is this satisfying hypergamy, and am I showing the discrepancy? Every phone call that I have, I say, is this doing the discrepancy in SMV? Even It's a lot of things. If I hold her hand as we're walking for 2 seconds, is that going to be too much of an interest test that I just failed where now I'm going to get a pullback? So when you start to see this for what it is, I personally have even wiped the analogy or the belief. I don't call them shit tests. I don't call them compliance tests. I call them interest tests. At every point in the interaction, I believe, and see, that's the thing with this. I don't know if I'm right. This is
no, that makes sense.
My 10 years of training from ages 18, starting with bodybuilding and getting my fitness right and my life on point, and these are my terms. So I don't know if I'm right or wrong. This is just how I do it. I don't call them compliance tests. I don't call them interest tests. Or excuse me, I don't call them shit tests. I don't call them compliance tests. I call them interest tests because I believe at every point of the interaction, all she's doing is testing your interest level because your interest level dictates if hypergamy is satisfied because that will prove to her if you're showing the discrepancy in SMV or not.
Yeah.
So now what I do is if I have a girlfriend and she leaves my house, why do I not give her a hug goodbye? Because I'm not going to run the risk of not satisfying hypergamy. So even though I'd love to give her a hug goodbye and be like, hey, great to see you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Whatever the fuck, I'm not going to do it. So this is what I'm telling guys, patience. You need patience to have this stick through, to let the time duration play out with the girl so she can build feelings towards you. And then you need to be stronger than your emotions and have that stoic belief, just like you were saying, stoicism. So even though I would love to engage in my emotions and be a human and say, God, I love you so much, you just have to use logic and objective, rational truth over that. And you say, okay, if I do X input, I'm going to get Y output, which is negative. If I hold her hand as we're on this walk together in the park, I'm going to get interest tested harder, and now she's not going to like me, so I'm just not going to do it. I don't even like to kiss girls anymore. When you're younger, you hear all your guys in high school, you're patted on the back if you had the balls to make a move. As I get older, my move is not making a move because I have emotional willpower and control to not give in to the lustful tendencies. The more I start kissing her and making out with her, the more she looks at me and goes, gotcha, motherfucker, you like me.
Yeah.
And the more she knows I like her, the more she doesn't like me.
It's validated.
So, yeah, not to ramble.
No, that's perfect.
If I'm going too much, but yeah, that's how I look at it.
What I was thinking while you were saying that is there's going to be guys listening to this and they're like, man, that means I have to play this game every day. Mm-hmm. The answer is yes, you do. There's a reason 70 to 80% of divorces are initiated by women because you are either losing at the game or you stop playing the game. And the worst is the people who don't believe there is a game. There's certain, I call them, blue pill content creators, or a lot of them are like really politically progressive that want to deny that anything we're saying is true.
Yeah.
And so what they want guys to do is not play this game at all. When women tell men, I always had this curious idea. I was like, why do women tell men to just be themselves? Like such horrible advice. And I'm like, why is it? And then I start to realize it's because they can figure out who the losers are quicker.
Right.
That's why they're doing
it. The
it.
more they can lead you astray and give you false advice, the more they can dictate who they're not going to sleep with or want to be with. So it's purely just to see if they can be Eve. This is what I tell guys. They're all Eve. Their words are designed to lead you astray in every way, shape, and form. And the more she says she wants one thing, the more she's going to do the opposite. So, I'm also of the belief, I don't think a man can, love a woman the way he thinks he can. And see, that's why I say a guy has to hit this from a lot of different angles. For me, what actually helped to get understandings of, masculinity and more, truth in how this works, for me, it was more of a religious or a biblical route, because how I look at it is the more I stay true to my love for my purpose, my creativity, the more as a man I seek that truth with God, and that's what I'm focused on loving, and that's what I'm focused on doing, the more she can love me. That is how I figured this out for myself. So I would just see, hey, the more I fall into this false narrative of what's been constructed around me, whether it be the lights, the camera, the music, the action telling me lust, 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 shake that ass, shake that ass, shake that ass, the more I'm becoming emasculated.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's going to be, that's how I view this. That's how I solved some of these problems for me, that's how I did it.
You mentioned a couple of disagreements you have with certain red pill content creators, sexual versus emotional attachment. Mm-hmm. Can you go over that concept? And then the other one was red pill guys are always say you need to be as alpha as possible all the time.
Yeah.
You disagree with that concept?
Yeah, the sexual versus emotional attachment. Here's how I would describe it to guys. And what I would do is I would say, hey, how many women have you, if I get a guy who's watching my stuff, or if I get a guy who is, let's say, one of my students or whatever the case may be, I say, how many women have you slept with? And he's 35. And he says, 60. I go, okay, how many of those girls are you still with today? And he goes, none. I go, okay, that should be all the proof you need that sexual investment doesn't equal emotional attachment. The numbers don't lie. If she's not with you today, something happened along the way, and it doesn't matter how many times your cock went inside of her, there's something that happened where that wasn't the turnkey moment for her to decide if she wants to stay with you or not. So that's first. That's how I rationalize it for myself. Like I said, I don't know if I'm right. It's just what I believe. So that's first. The second thing is like being as alpha as possible. I don't think is good either, because here's how I look at this. What I would see is I'd see this. A lot of these hyper-masculine guys, and I know this because I've been 165 pounds shredded with long blonde hair, like a pretty boy look. And I've also been the guy who's 205 pounds with a big beard, deadlifting 500 for reps, inclining 250 for sets of 15, right? Yeah. So I've done both. And the amount of attention and the amount of sexual and emotional interest I would get by looking what you would call, or what anybody would call, more feminine was through the roof. So then I started to realize this. I would be like, okay, hypergamy, to be satisfied, needs both sides of the coin, right? You need both sides. You want to be arousing, but you also need the attractive qualities that would signal long-term security and protection, because what she's going to say is, if I have kids with this guy, right, this is her hardwiring. This is happening subconsciously. Yeah. This idea of condoms or birth control, this hasn't been around for very long. Right. So what always happened in 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, is if a woman was going to decide to have sex with a guy, it was probably a big decision, because you need to make sure this guy is invested in you in the right ways beyond just the physical or the bedroom. So she had to say, if I were to have kids with this guy, is he going to have long-term security, and is he going to have all of these other things in place that's going to make him love me so he doesn't cheat, right? So he doesn't cheat, and so that way I feel safe to be with him. This is why I found that, like, if you have masculinity, let's say level 1 is like, I don't know, a dude who's not very masculine, and let's say level 10 is a 7-foot-tall gladiator in a video game with a big beard. Usually around 5 or 6, maybe 6.5 level is probably the best, where she feels attracted to you and aroused by you, and she's going to want to stick by your side. So like, stuff just started to click with me. I was like, okay, why are these hyper masculine dudes at the house parties not the ones getting the play? Yeah. Why is it the guy who is, maybe super skinny and more dressed like a surfer and, seems super bubbly, why is he having all the attention? Yeah. Why is this guy who is the football player, who's the offensive lineman, even though he's jacked and could beat the shit out of everyone, why do the girls not gravitate towards him? And then I'm like, okay, hypergamy needs both sides of the coin. You want those alpha traits that signal arousal, but you also need the long-term security side, because her hardwiring is still going to look for both sides of the coin. Yeah. That's what I believe. Right. So that's where I disagree with some of the other. Just
be alpha all the time.
Yeah, it doesn't work as well.
Evolutionarily, she needs you to stay by her.
Yes.
She needs, her ancestors would pick a guy who would sit there and protect her, because if she picked the wrong guy, then her and her child would die.
Yep.
Right. That's how it worked in the tribe. Mm-hmm. Do you have any delineation? Rollo talks about in his second book, hitting the wall, right? An epiphany phase. Do you have any delineation with women? You give advice to men based on women, based on their age, or different eras that they're going through, different phases that they're going through in their life?
Yeah, definitely. But I don't think it's the woman's fault. Yeah. I think she's became old enough to realize it, because just like a lot of us men are hurting or have hurted in the past, or like guys are figuring this out, women have been fed their own blue pill too, if you want to call it that. And women have been told a lot of different things that have led them to probably not make the best mating preferences either. Yeah. So it is a combination, right? Maybe beauty and sexual market value has declined. That probably is half of it. Mm-hmm. I would say, yeah, her attractiveness is going down. So she's going to probably need more long-term security, because she's not going to be able to command the same type of guy she could. Yeah. But simultaneously, too, with age does come wisdom for anyone, male or female. The more experiences you have, the more you'll be able to reflect. So the other half of the battle is she probably realized that some of the decisions she made were incorrect too for her long-term future.
Yeah.
Women have been fed their own bag of false goods too, just like men, right? So a lot of guys, you know, a lot of these men, we say like, you know, guys say that they're hurting and, you know, guys don't get any action, or like, you know, majority of men are unattracted or are unattractive to a lot of women. Women feel the same pain, just in a different way. She's 34 years old and she wakes up and she goes, I'm in an apartment by myself and I have no kids and no husband. And that's a different level of pain for her that we will never experience because we don't have boobs.
Yeah.
So like her emotional suffering will come in a different way that a guy can't feel, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's going to come at different points, right? So yeah, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
You got to be smart enough and competent enough to figure the shit out for yourself. And that's why I don't think that a guy can use a copy-paste templated format. Like, you can use general principles, but you have to figure it out for yourself, because I believe God made every man semi-unique, right? So like what Austin does with the look stuff is probably unique to him, right? Your level of game that you have with running Vegas the way you do is going to be unique to you.
Yeah.
There was a guy I went to high school with who was great with women, and he would freestyle rap at parties, and that was his in, right? So every guy, you're going to have to figure it out for yourself. What's your strong suit and your leverage point that you can optimize?
You have another thing. You talk about the male friend test. I love this. So I talk about this from both sides of the coin. I have a ton of female friends because I host a bunch of bikini competitions, whatever. And often they start catching feelings for me. I put them in the friend zone. I never show them intent. I don't even hug them like face on. You remember we talk about if a girl had chlamydia, would you even hug her face to face? You wouldn't even hug her face to face. Right. And that's how I am. And a lot of times they consistently see me with other women and they'll start catching feelings. You talk about a male friend test where the girl knows that these other guys want to sleep with her, but she's still continuing to have a bunch of male friends while she's dating you. Do you remember this whole thing?
I don't remember specifically what video it was, but I think that like how I come to terms with that for myself is I say, okay, so if women optimize for survival and future survival and long-term security, it would obviously make sense for her to secure potential investment from a variety of guys. So even though she loves this guy currently in the moment and she feels that discrepancy in sexual market values there, the more social media followers she has and the more attention she's gaining, the more technically, I think, subconsciously goes on in her brain where she goes, I'm safer and I'm more secure at 1 million followers than I am at 100,000.
Yes, there's some guy that'll rescue me.
Right, at least there's someone out there. And the more someones there are out there for her, whether it be male friends or whatever the case may be. Because here's what guys need to realize, even if you're a girl's friend, you're still bringing her value in some way, shape, or form if she's willing to keep talking to you.
That's true.
So you got to see that for what it is too. And that's why I think they keep a lot of different guys at play and some at bay. And she knows if she breaks up with a guy or if she exits a relationship, she knows who's number 1 in line, who's 2 in line, and who's 3 in line, like that. And she knows this months in advance.
There's an anonymous survey with married women. 70% of them admit to having a backup partner.
I believe it.
Dr. Buss, in his most recent book, When Men Behave Badly, he was talking about how there was the 2 scientists that were married to each other. Eventually, one day, the female, she ends up falling in love with someone that she sees at conventions on a regular basis. And the husband, he was staying back and taking care of their kids together.
Yeah.
When he found a new wife, she lost her shit, started becoming violent because he was the backup partner now. And it was one of these situations where, like, when you lose the backup, or I've seen this before where I'll start, like, a girl I'll be friends with or whatever, and she has a boyfriend, and I'll start dating a girl, and she'll start treating me different because maybe I was the backup partner.
Yeah.
What I've said before is, as a guy, if you're single, you should have a ton of women in your life competing for your attention, friends or otherwise. If you're a guy, your girlfriend, here's the problem. People think it's guys hitting on your girl that's the problem. If your girlfriend's pretty, guys are going to hit on your girl. That's not their job to not hit on your girl.
Yeah.
It's her job to not let the guy touch her.
You're right.
The issue, the real problem is the guys who don't hit on your girl. The guys who have so many women in their life. Your girlfriend's a stunner, and he's like, oh, what up, Becky? Fist bump. And you could tell, like, he's just not interested. Every day, she's going to see the girls who are attracted to him. Every day, she's going to see how unaffected he is. Every day, she's going to see who follows him.
100%.
And she's going to be like, go. She's going to like cheer him on. But internally, she starts to catch feelings. And I can tell you several dozen instances in my life where I just put a girl in the friend zone, no interest whatsoever. You know, maybe she breaks up with her boyfriend and then all of a sudden she's like naked in my bed and I didn't do anything, but we're just friends. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think too, women's love is very much fantasy based. And I also think that women obviously fall in love with the, like, here's what I tell my guys too, is I say, women don't fall in love with your real world value. Women fall in love with fantasies and illusions of value of what the guy they don't have could be like. So she is constantly envisioning what life would be like with this other guy that she doesn't have access to. And the more out of touch you are, the more she falls in love with you over everybody else. So like, yeah, a lot of guys too will have to understand that it's just opposite mating strategies.
Yeah.
And what you believe, like guys will believe if I don't approach her, if I don't talk to her, if I don't give her that interest to show her I'm willing to take things to the next level romantically, that's going to punish me for the future with her and she's going to lose interest in me. And it just couldn't be further from the truth. Their love is completely different. It's fantasy based. It's story based. It's this illusion of this guy who she doesn't yet have access to and would like to know what he's like. There's a ton of layers to it, and that's why every female romance novel is that way, you know?
Yeah.
So that's how I rationalize it for myself.
I do want to talk a little bit about business because I've heard you talk about how your business is set up. It's really fascinating to me. You talked about spending money because of pain. And I talked with my sales team about this a lot of times. It's like you find a pain point. I had a guy on yesterday. I was on a sales call with him. And it was very clear he was giving me this objection of I need to sit there and think about it. And I tried to explain to him, I was like, all the changes that happened in my life were because of pain.
Yeah.
I made the decision when I was experiencing the pain because if I waited a little while, like Goggins says, your inner bitch will come back.
Right.
And it's okay that your girlfriend treated you like this. It's not that big of a deal. But when you were in your pain, you knew you needed to move on.
100%.
And so I think a lot of guys, they don't make decisions when they're in their pain. That might be the right time to make that decision. And then also you as a salesperson a lot of times, or you as a content creator, or you as a coach, a lot of times you have to appeal to that pain in order to get them to change.
Yeah, the thing is most guys don't make decisions until they're in an extreme amount of pain. And here's the way that I teach this to anybody, and you can apply this to any business. Like, I wholeheartedly believe I have enough skills where you could basically take damn near everything away from me and give me a cardboard box and I'd find a way to climb out because like I understand how stuff moves. So how I explain this to anybody at a pretty base level is I hold a bottle of water and I say, how much would you pay me for this bottle of water? And they'll say $2, $3, $5, right? And then I say, if I tied you to a tree in the middle of the desert for XYZ hours, and now I hold the bottle of water in front of you, how much are you going to give me for it? And depending on how thirsty they are and how dehydrated they are, they might give me $3,000 for that bottle, $5,000 for that bottle, $10,000 for that bottle of water, $100,000 for that bottle of water, if they have it.
Yeah.
And that's what I can tell anybody struggling to make money is you have to figure out where people are hurting and how you can solve that for them. And there's a lot of misconceptions around sales where people go, that's evil or that's manipulative. And it's really not, because here's the thing. The only thing that really dictates a person's like happiness day to day and how they feel about their self-worth, their confidence, everything, or how they're moving is if they are not in a state of pain and if they have an element of control over the destiny of their life. The more you can give them that to help them out, to get them out of that pain and find areas where they are suffering, the more money a lot of times you'll make.
Yeah.
So,
and giving them an element of control. I haven't thought about that, but that's absolutely true. It's like you have to, part of the solution is you're giving them back some level of control, whether it's dating or like, I don't know how to make my business work. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like the pain is the big one. And I didn't understand that at first. I thought everyone just makes rational decisions.
Right.
And you're like, no, they don't.
Well, like I've never met an overweight person in my life who understands how to track macros, understands the concepts of caloric surplus versus deficit, understands the amount of protein to get per day to keep lean body mass. I have never met an overweight person that understands those concepts. So just like in dating, attraction is a discrepancy in sexual market value. A lot of times the difference between your client's success versus them not having success is a discrepancy in their information that they've accumulated and their beliefs around the world. So changing beliefs is important. This is what people have to understand. If you want to make money, especially in today's economy, you are in the business of changing and altering people's beliefs to align them with a new vision, to give them a better control of their future destiny. And the reason being is because humans suffer a lot because they have been programmed through different ways. They believe certain things because of how they were taught in school, or what their parents told them, or what the music told them, or what they heard their favorite rapper say on the radio. They believe all this shit, and a lot of times it hurts them. So your job, if you are in business, is to change and alter beliefs to get them to align their new beliefs with your future vision, and then get them out of that pain to give them an element of control to their future destiny where they are now satisfied. If you can do that, you'll pretty much, like, the sky's the limit with the amount of money that you could make. So that's how I've set up my business, and that's why I'm not, I know my deficits well. My strengths have always been communication and marketing, like speaking and dissecting shit at a granular level where people go, okay, this makes sense. My strengths has never been team and operation, and my strength, like, I'm not the guy to go run a 100-person sales team. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Like, I might be the guy where I'll outsell all 100 reps because I'm going to do it my way, but I'm not the guy to manage all those people. So just like with dating, I had to appeal to my own point of leverage and figure out how I'm going to do this. The same goes for business. I think that you can't template this shit. Everybody is going to have their own strong suit. So you like sales reps.
Yeah.
I like automation, and I like long form pitching.
We've talked about this. Yeah. That when I was explaining to my team about how your business runs.
Yeah.
With which is really awesome. The way it does. Wes Watson, I talk to him about it. Like, he has no sales team. It's all text messaging, the way he does it. It's really a very interesting way to do it with way more simplicity.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, there's like the saying of know thyself, I think is very important. And I just know my strong suits and I know my deficits enough to where, like, I'm not going to I'm not going to get into the wrong business model for me. So I've always kept a very lean team. And how do I know this? I know this because of the pain. I've hired 10, 12, 15 people at once before. I've ran an outbound sales team. I've ran sales reps. I've done appointment setters from free groups. I've done all this. I'm not as good at it.
Yeah.
And it's way harder for me. So I was like, okay, my strength is communication and long form pitching. I'm going to figure out methods where I can automate what people are seeing to cast the right beliefs. Here's the other thing I like about the way I do things is, like, the thing that is hard, in my opinion, with sales reps is human beings are flexible in emotion on how they feel. So maybe he's constipated that day and he's 5 minutes late to the appointment, and that pissed off the potential customer, and now they're gone. Maybe that guy's girlfriend just cheated on him and he just found that out, and he is on the verge of tears for the next 8 hours, and he has to hold it together on Zoom to try to have this call with this guy.
Team. But Brandon Carter talked about this, about how part of his job is to coach the sales team. I do the same thing.
Yeah.
Part of my job, I tell my sales team when they have problems in their relationships or any of they should call me. A lot of other people would not want that from their sales team. But I do like I'm a military officer. I do like leading from the front. I really like motivating, and I love group calls with hundreds of people on there.
Yeah.
Some people just don't like that.
Yeah, and it all depends on your strong suit. So since I saw those tendencies in what I'm good at versus bad at, I went with automation because I can control the video, I can control the point of sale, I can control the pitch and the offer the whole way through. So it's constant day and night on Christmas, New Year's, or a Monday morning. And because of that, that's how I do it. And I'm not saying people should emulate me. It's just it's the way I did it, so that's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah. And the focus was it specific? Was it just you not being interested in other things, or is it one of these things where it's designed? Because you are way more dialed in than almost anybody I've seen when it comes to these concepts. Like your webinar, et cetera, is about one topic, and you don't stray from that topic.
So I'm going to answer this in a different way than you're probably expecting.
Okay.
So, like, for example, when you say I'm more dialed in than anyone you've seen, I wouldn't even know that about myself because I'm blind to the external. You're not even aware
that you're more dialed in.
So
that's crazy.
I'm not even aware. So how do you, like that's what I mean is, like, it's hard to, if I don't watch any politics, I don't watch any news, I don't listen to music, I have no idea what's going on in the outside world at all. So all I know is my bubble because that's what I can
You
control.
have crushed this niche so much that you created your own niche.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what I mean is like I created this subscription community in my platform. I think like 3 months ago we launched. We have like over 750 guys already in it.
Using school, a circle.
Yeah, right now it's on school. And the reason why I picked school is because I am actually a former Sam Ovens student.
Okay.
I had previous existence with his up-level product.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love how analytical he is with teaching. Yeah. He's very regimented, just like I kind of am. I gravitated towards his personality, so I trust him with his platform, and that's why I went in that direction. But I could build it on anything, right? I went with that because I like him as an individual.
I'm a fan of Cole Gordon. That's why I joined.
Yeah, I like him too.
Yeah,
he's been to my house in Arizona.
Yeah, Cole is great. And the gamify, like so you have different ranks for the people in your community.
Yeah.
We just named them officer ranks. You're lieutenant, captain, major. I'm the only colonel in our school group right now. So that's the way we did it. I love the gamification. And I also liked on Discord, you can't host the videos. You have to use like Kajabi or some secondary source.
Yeah.
You can actually link to different modules in school that you can't do at other places. You can sell individual pieces of your course. So like in the course, I can sell like a $3 audio book or something. There's so many different ways to use school. I really do like. I love Discord. Like I like the way Discord looks. Yeah. But I really like school a lot better. Circle is a little harder because it doesn't seem to be like there's not continuous video to video to video. Like I didn't really like that, but I do like the way Circle looks. I just don't like the functionality of it.
Yeah,
as much
and
as school.
see that's where like okay, so I'm gonna go back to what I originally said. Like I advise most guys to just be blind to most things and focus on what you can control. Yeah. So like the way I crushed my content or space or whatever you want to call it was just not having a lot of other interests in life. Yeah. Like from ages 18 on, I've wanted to figure out like how do I have a great dating life and what are the areas in life as a man I need to focus on. So that's what I taught because for 8 hours, like I don't know anybody else besides a couple people where all they did 7 days a week is figure out how to level up their dating life for a decade in a row. That's all I did. 7 days a week. That's all I had interest in.
I'll tell you, when I moved here for the last 13 years, I was doing that to my own detriment. I will tell you, dude, I'm 46. You're 28. Yeah. I will tell you, there's a good decade of my life. I feel like I spent way too much time focused on how to get better with women. Yeah. And not enough time focused on money. And you did the opposite. Like you said, you had a real estate license when you were 18. I was selling stock options and I was working for a hedge fund, for a small fund from 2013 to 2019. Yeah. And so that part I was like kind of leveling up. But I do know some guys, you probably met the bartender or the male stripper who sleeps on couches, but has been with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of women. Right. Because he's got that part of his life dialed in. Maybe he can't teach it as well as we can, but he's got that part of his life dialed in. Yeah, 100%. And then you've also met the doctor, accountant, lawyer who's got, he's like, not only does this guy make $500,000 a year in income, he owns 15 other doors, like rental properties. His money is so dialed in. He's got depreciation of his assets. He pays nothing in taxes. This guy's fucking set. Right. He keeps getting used every time he goes on a date. Yes. That guy too he's a target. In fact, I'm thinking about creating a program, probably have like you and Dan come on the program where we just go over guys who are super good at business and are financial targets to women just to like give them warnings. Yeah, you have to have a certain volume. Like there's certain things a guy has to experience. You have to experience rejection. You have to experience heartbreak. You have to experience a woman with variation of interest levels in you. You have to experience things to grow. So guys who think that they can just, okay, so like with me, for example, like all I know is to teach what I know. So like 10 years of bodybuilding of only missing 3 unscheduled rest days of my life, that's experience. Being with a variety of women over the past 10 years, that's experience. You can't, making 1,000+ long form YouTube videos, that's experience. You can't take that away. So like there's certain things a guy has to do in order to have the conviction and the confidence to do it. And when you get to that level of skill, you start to realize that all the stuff you thought mattered actually didn't, right? Like, you know, guys like for starting business, like, do I need this camera or that camera? It's like the camera's fucking irrelevant, right? And then like, you know, do I use this funnel builder website or that one or this or that platform? It's like, it doesn't matter. What matters is how good do you know at using it. Like if you have
if you can work it a 10 out of 10, you're going to have success
So
with
true,
whatever
yeah.
you choose. You know, meanwhile, if you give someone the most souped up level tech or whatever, and they don't know how to work it and they don't know what to say to make it work, they'll make no money.
I'll tell you right now. So I got to 180,000 subs using we back at Sticky Paws when Travis and I were there. It was iPhones. We had iPhone 10s hanging from the ceiling, and that's all we used. And people would come into the studio and be like, "What the fuck is this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they're just iPhones."
Yeah.
And they couldn't grasp that I wasn't using like A7S3s,
Yeah.
you know, along with Alexas and Red
Right.
Dragons. And then the other problem was I have some friends of mine who are big time content creators, and for them to start to make a video, it was like the tripod has to be set up. So it's like a half an hour of the tripod being set
Yeah.
up. Then the lav, we got to change the gain on the lavalier.
Yeah.
And then, well, no, the sunlight's here. And by the time we start shooting, the sun has moved, you know,
Yeah.
15 degrees.
Right.
And I was like, bro, hit record.
Yeah, like by the time, okay, so that's the other thing too. By the time, if you take me in my space versus someone else or any space, it doesn't matter. By the time they need the perfect shit under the perfect conditions to have their one piece of content, I have 10 pieces of content out. So that's the difference, is speed of execution. If you're going to be in business, business is going to favor speed and volume. I've grown my body through volume, through thousands of workouts. I've grown my business through thousands of pieces of content. I've grown my dating life by thousands of different experiences and interactions with women.
Yeah.
You need reps. Reps is what builds a man, is what I believe. You
Yeah.
need reps. Reps under the barbell. When you fail at that rep, it copy pastes into other areas in your life. And you got to get good at failing so you can learn how to get good at succeeding.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I think it worked well between Rollo and I while we started the show together is because Rollo had been writing about theory for a long time. He's been married for 28 years, which, by the way, is a feature, not a bug. I would love to have a woman that in love with me for 28 years. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the reason why we called it Access Vegas was like Rollo was a lot of theory and I was a lot of practice. And
Right.
my whole goal over the last couple of years is to find evolutionary psychology and other practices and say, okay, I know this guy crushes it with women. What are the reasons why? And is there something in psychology that can explain it? And so
Yeah.
because of that, I actually like to read the studies
Yeah.
and read that kind of stuff because I know what's true, dude. I've been around too many fucking guys who've been with 500, 600, 2,000 women for me to and see that they're all doing the same thing for
Yeah.
me to believe that this isn't true. I know it's true.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to square the circle and see if science can catch up and explain why some of these things are working.
Yeah.
Because some of my clients need to hear that.
Right.
They need to learn about mate choice copying, sexy son's hypothesis. They need to learn about evolutionary studies. They need to learn about, you know, like market attraction discrepancies, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And when they see that, then they're like, then it clicks for them because they are real analytical and logical. And when I'm able to do that, then it works really well. And I think what happens a lot of times is somebody outside of our space is going to listen to you and me and be like, oh, that's not science. Trust me, bro. And I'm like, you and I have had too many experiences for me to believe anything else is. I just know I am more sure of this concept when you say a woman is not going to fall in love with a guy who's head over heels in love with her.
Yeah.
Like when you say that, I don't know the study to pull up, but I know what you're saying is true.
Yeah.
More so than I know that the earth is round. I am positive what you're saying is true because I have personally thousands of experiences and 2,000 clients who've had experiences and then friends with guys who are super famous and when you have guy friends who are good looking and famous,
Yeah.
and then they fall head over heels in love with a girl, and she leaves them. That soccer player, Kaká, remember? The guy's worth hundreds of
Yeah,
millions
yeah,
of dollars,
yeah.
and his wife leaves him because he's too perfect.
Right.
Then the day he's about to get married to another woman, then she wants him back.
Oh,
It's
I didn't know that
Bro,
happened.
it's like so obvious what you're saying is true, but it does. Look, by the way, men are painted in a poor light too. Men cheat more than women do, but it paints women in a poor light when you explain to them a guy can be too perfect and you leave him.
Right.
It makes them look poor, right? So that's the reason why a lot of the stuff that we talk about comes off as offensive to some people.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like she wants you to have imperfections. She wants you to have things she'd like to change about you. Like one of the stuff that when I was younger, one of the issues I'd make is if I would have a girl come over, I would make sure my house is in perfect order so it looks presentable. Nowadays, I want shit all over. I want there to be dishes that need to get done potentially. I leave my I want it to look like a man lives here.
This is your job, honey. When you get here, these are your dishes.
I don't even say that, but it's just like I just want it to look like a man lives here, and obviously he doesn't give a fuck. And like women also, I believe, fall in love with like broken men, which means she needs something to fix, which means you need to have multiple areas in your life that are rough around the edges, so there's something for her to fix. So yeah, the more you are too perfect, it's like this is a move-in ready husband. There's nothing about him that I have to fix. It's too perfect. There's no tension, right? Every good movie, every good novel has tension and there's conflict. There's nothing to fix. She can't fall in love with you.
Yeah.
So I've done different things where it's like, yeah, now my house, if I have a girl over, is not in perfect order.
Yeah.
It's sloppy. So all that stuff helps you because she's like, oh, there's places in here where I can add my feminine touch and help or try to fix this guy.
Yeah.
And that's what she wants to do.
With business, another thing you did mention before was the concept of telling stories. Do you remember this? I think it was you, me, Lynn, and Dan were having this conversation, and you talked about the ability to tell stories to get people to follow along with what it is that you're teaching.
Yeah. So the thing is like, if you look at any religion that someone believes with 100% conviction, like if you get someone who's a Christian or any religion, right? You get someone who's a Christian, someone who is a Muslim, whatever, and they believe in their heart of hearts with 100% conviction in what it is that they believe. They believe it because the stories have painted narrative to convince them of that. So the stories tap into the emotion alters and changes belief, and the belief builds conviction. So you have to get good at telling stories. And if you can back that up with reasons why, like when I jot down all those facts or all those points on my marker board, and it's like, they can go back and they can paint the stories of, oh, when I made that mistake, yep, I gave her a hug goodbye there and she pulled away. Yep, I held her hand too long on that walk. And then I noticed her pull back because I failed her interest test. When you can paint stories the right way and they can put themselves in those stories, they trust your logic and your new truths and your new beliefs being planted, and it's going to make the sale far easier because they align with your new vision with them.
That's so great. Yeah.
So yeah, the stories would sell. The saying in marketing, or the saying in general, is facts tell but stories sell.
Yeah.
So if you want to get good at selling, you need to tell really good stories. And if you have good stories that also foster belief by your facts that you're presenting to them, that's a win-win, and it's hard for anybody to tell you no. Like if you agree, here's how I look at this. If you agree with my story and you agree with the facts being presented to you and you agree with the future vision of the benefit of what this offer is going to do for you, you have to give me money. It's impossible for you not to give me money because you check every box.
It's like the straight line selling thing with Jordan Belfort, where he talks about your product is a 10, you're a 10, how sharp you are with it is a 10. It's the same kind of situation. It's like you align with the story he told about the pain he's going through.
Right.
It's like you agreed with that. You felt the pain he was feeling.
Yeah.
I started when we had that conversation. My team has told me that before. It's like, hey, you know that story you told about that one time in Jamaica? Like, will you tell that story again? And I didn't realize how powerful it was because again, I'm trying to appeal to their logic.
Right.
And that was a really great thing. Like I said before, you being dialed in is really, really a superpower. But the other one that I think that you do really well is automation. Can you explain to potential business owners or guys who are running businesses right now what type of automation you have, and then what are the lessons you've learned in order to be able to do some of the things that you do?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to automation, mine's pretty simple. Beyond email, I'm always just trying to automate the hard-nosed offer. Like, what is the main offer that they're going to see with the main video?
Yeah.
So I believe, like, a lot of people focus on fancy pages and fancy funnels and long-form shit that is super descriptive and typed out, and it's like, okay, if you can just ace this one video, or this one presentation, and you can dial that in where it is like clockwork, let's say it converts at 8%, let's say hypothetically, that for every, whatever the case may be, if it converts at 10%, if you get 1,000 people through it, for sure you're going to make 100 sales. You want to, in my opinion, use the technology to your advantage and remove as many points of leakage that you can to let the machine do the operation for you. And if you can consistently automate the pitch, the offer, the presentation, so you know that even if it's Christmas time at midnight,
the machine won't make a mistake.
Right.
The machine won't be in a bad mood.
right? And like even me, I'm great at sales, but if you say, hey, get behind 100 sales calls, there's a chance that for a percentage of them, I am going to not feel good that day or
Yes.
want to do it. And because of that, humans make mistakes. So get rid of that as much as you can. And especially if you're selling something online, try to automate all of the points that you can and dial in your offer and just focus on what you can control. Like, I think you can do more damage with 3 pages, super optimized, than you can with all this stuff you've created with 100 different pages and offers and all this stuff. Like, they have this big tangled web of a business. And it's like, if you can make it templatable like a conveyor belt, as much as you can to streamline this whole thing, that is when you start making the money that you deserve because you've made it simple for the customer journey.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, so I try to simplify everything, right? Get rid of most things. Like sometimes it's like, how short can I make this landing page and still get it to convert?
Yeah.
Like how, like there's been offers I have where it's like it's a headline, a sub headline, a video, and a button, and that's it.
That's all. Yeah.
Because what you get the customer to focus on, like people only know what you put in front of them. So if I give you 2 cookie choices, now you got to make a decision if you want a sugar cookie or a chocolate chip. If I only give you chocolate chip, now the only decision you have to make is yes or no. So just get rid of most shit and dial in the stuff that matters to get them to make a buying decision. And that's all business is. It's not about being fancy. It's about being profitable, and being profitable, you can do it easier, in my opinion, if you automate stuff.
My VSL has a lot of attractive women in it. We were trying to apply, I can't remember what, we were trying to work with some vendor. So we took the VSL down for a little while and conversions went up.
Yeah.
And then I talked to Alex Mayer, who was Ty Lopez's business partner. And I asked him the question. It was the same week. I was like, "What have you ever tried squeeze pages where there's no VSL?" He goes, "Yeah, we did it with no VSL and we actually got more conversions." So he had the same experience.
Yeah.
And I think it goes back to what you're saying is the simplicity at certain areas. You know, there's not as many decisions that they have to make. I do actually want to ask you about other parts of automation because you create so much content. You just sit down and push a button, push record. Do you have a team that, like, I'm trying to work it out to where I don't, when I do reaction videos, I had to set up everything and put the teleprompter. Do you have a team that just does that for you? You sit down and push record? Like, is there automation there with your content creation?
No, I do all of it. I mean, like our short form, I have a guy who I've been friends with for 10 years. He's a videographer. He will set up the camera and the mic for me to do short form.
Yeah.
But no, I operate on a day-to-day basis. I can't tell you the video I'm going to make Monday morning when I get home. I have no idea. So I wake up that morning and I decide what I want to make. In my phone, I have a list of probably 200 video topics I still have not made, and I pick one that day that I can align with most based on my current experiences from that week. I build it, right? And then as I build it, that's pretty much it. And it's hard-nosed. It's hard-nosed labor. I got to wake up. I jot it down on a marker board. It takes a couple hours to figure it all out, how I'm going to present it. And then I shoot the video, and then we upload it same day. And when it's done that day is when we press record and publish. So
That's
it's
awesome.
Yeah, it's very
You ship.
yeah, I'm in the weeds with it, and I'm very much involved in the business, but I don't think my channel or anything would have grown had it not have been me doing it.
Yeah.
Like if I would have had more team to help set shit up for me, it would not have been my way, and I don't think the channel would have been nearly as successful.
Yeah, I think initially you do need to learn how to use one camera, how to set up your own audio, and then after a while, like I was a videographer before I started hosting those events. I actually filmed bikini competitions before I hosted them. Anyway, I hope at some point in the future you do a business product. I really do. I listening to you talk about this stuff.
Business product?
Yeah,
I have 3.
You do? Oh, you have business product? I didn't even know.
Yeah,
that.
I have. So in our community, I give them Freedom Academy, which I made a couple years ago.
Okay.
I show them click for click how I started my first online business, and it's literally so drag and drop. It's grab this template from my website, download it. Now switch the headline. Now switch the sales page. Now switch the offer. I show everything click for click. You know, I have another product where I've taught webinars. I've had guys use my YouTube strategy to a webinar, and I have text messages of, you know, guys that go, yeah, I released this video, and within 24 hours I just had my first sale for $498. So like I've built all that. I don't like it as much teaching it because you have to really want to be an entrepreneur and you have to want to sit in front of a computer for that long and stuff. You don't necessarily have to want to attract women. That's going to be hardwired into you if you're a guy trying to get better at dating. So I kind of went with just my strong suit. And honestly, I believe there's better business teachers than me out there. I really do. Because I think that there's going to be some people who have taken business to a higher level and made that their whole focus. Me, money in business was to almost test, like, is this going to help give me more leverage for my own attractiveness and options as I age? I still have a love and passion for business. I just think that I'm a bit unique with how I do it, and I don't think my method would work for everyone. There are certain people, if you want to be more of a content creator, influencer type like me, who set up an online store, then yeah, sure, that's my bread and butter, what I can teach. But man, there's guys out there who've made way more money than me. Yeah. You know, so.
Our next step, we're going to do a webinar. And we were, the reason why is because talking to my team after talking to you. Yeah. I think that's what we're going to go do next. Also, talking to Taylor Welsh about a low ticket offer. I don't have any low ticket offer. So I think that's probably the next thing we're going to do from watching other people, watching what you guys do.
Yeah. And like the thing that helps me in business too is like, I don't necessarily design my business right away for its like, profit instantly. It's like you want to design it for like, where is this going to help them at the breaking point for the customer journey? And you want to kind of set everything up for like, okay, when they come in for this specific reason, I'm going to satisfy this, but also what are the other areas in their life they're going to want or need help with? And that's how you kind of want to look at it too, is like optimizing the business for future problems they're going to have and getting them future success in other areas when they come into your pipeline almost. Yeah. So yeah, however, as a business owner, you can collect clients. Collecting customers and clients is the same as collecting leads. You want to collect them. But once you collect them, it's like, what are we going to do with them? And where do we want to take them? And specifically, it's not where do we want to take them? It's where do they want to go? Yeah. And that's the most important part, is figuring out what they want to buy because of the problems they are having in their life. So that's how I look at it.
Beautiful, man. This has been a great interview, man. I'm glad that we were able to finally do this. Yeah. Where can people find you?
Just my channel, Casey Zander, or pretty much any social media. Yeah. Yeah. It's just my name on all of them. If you want to check out my stuff, it'll be on my channel.
So, awesome, man. Well, we got a wild weekend coming up here in Las Vegas. A lot of great content, man. Thanks for coming out. And for those of you who are watching, man, I really appreciate you guys. All the new subscribers recently has been really, really great. I will see all of you next week.